Good evening, one and all. Welcome to this Last of Us Season 2, Episode 2, spoilers. I'm joined, as last week, by Grey Poupet. Grey, how are you, sir?
Good. I remembered to unmute this time. Doing good, man. Thanks for allowing me to be here. Because, yeah, apparently I'm experiencing this differently than a lot of other people. But, man,
Uh,
I'm having a good time.
Apparently, this is going to be quite fun. And if you're looking live on the stream, you'll see that there's a Cordyceps me and a Cordyceps Grey in his non-screen version. So I appear to be having it a little
Man,
bit worse.
I dig that, though. Nice.
That's what
I like
happens
the
when
tendrils.
mustard goes bad, evidently. So Rudy says, no spoilers. I haven't seen it yet. I'm waiting for my daughter to come over on Sunday. You can get to watch 2 episodes
Ooh.
on Sunday. Rudy, you're going to have to go because this is a spoiler stream. So I don't know if he was messing around or what, but hello, Ryan, Master Casalius, and Joey. Yeah, so again, spoilers. This is, it's a 7-episode season, and we're technically a third of the way through, and we have our jumping off point, our conflict initiation. So the thing that I thought was going to happen last week happened this week. And the episode was a plot and an A1 plot. There wasn't really this A plot, B plot thing happening. It really felt to me like a season finale type thing. And I'm here for it. I don't know. Gray, what were you expecting, and how did you feel throughout the episode?
So I really wasn't sure exactly what they were going to do. Like, I knew what it seemed like they were leading up to, which is very similar to the game, but slight things were a bit changed.
Mm,
But I wasn't sure if they were going that route because, first off, you've got some pretty big name casts in here, and they've announced season 3. Do you really want to kind of lose that option?
mhm.
But yeah, just as the moments kept ticking on, it's like, oh, looks like they're going for it. And then they really did. And so I happen to be watching it with my wife. She is not aware of the game at all, the second game, so she had no idea what was happening. So it was really kind of fun to experience that from some new eyes, if you will. I was biting my tongue so hard not to like spoil anything for her because it's like, oh, they're doing the thing. It's the thing. Yeah,
It's chicken jockey for Last of Us.
kinda. So yeah, but it was really interesting, kind of experiencing it from her point of view. But they made certain changes from the game, and I think it helps the impact, and I think it helps from like a viewer
Sure.
perspective, as opposed to kind of experiencing this thing that you've built up for over a decade with one of your favorite people that you were actually playing as,
Yeah,
and then
I feel like the fact that they do take subtle changes. Well, one of them that was it's just a moment. This whole episode is over the course of a couple of hours. They have Tommy, which is Joel's brother, not out on the horseback. I don't know, what do they call those little journeys that they go
the
on?
scouting party.
Is it scouting? Yeah.
I
So,
think it's scouting because then you bring in the real guns after that.
yeah. So in the game, Tommy is with Joel on the scouting party, but in this episode, he's back at the at Jackson, and doing things like that, especially with what pops off in Jackson for the episode. You're led to believe, like, okay, so we might be experiencing things completely like new. So it's an interesting thing that you can get people who are familiar with the game and people who are just brand new having some sort of similar, I don't know, inexperience or a lack of security in what's happening. And I think it's fascinating how they manage to do that ever so subtly. I mean, there's shots
Hmm.
that are just ripped right from the game, like the cinematography is just frame for frame right out of the game. But there are other moments where they go a bit further and they tweak things, and it's not too big a deal, but it's enough for like me. I only recently played it. My memory's shit. I only recently played it, and I still was like, oh, that's not what's happening here. This is a little different. And I think just the subtle things that they tweaked and switched um, led for the stakes to hit harder. Having Tommy not be on the scouting run with Joel, but have Dina there, um, it
Mhm.
gives you this big element where when Ellie, is out there and goes to find them, you have her dad figure who's kind of that relationship's a little strained, but also you have Dina who's her her person for the moment. So like the stakes were just a little bit heavier just for that moment. And I don't know, on top of that, everything that happens at Jackson, for as much as we don't have like big zombie Game of Thrones esque moments in the first season, i- this is probably the biggest set piece we've seen in this
Well,
show
that was
so
a lot of
far.
the feedback from the first one that, like, there weren't enough infected. We didn't get to actually see, like, hordes. Man, it looks like he took all the feedback that kind of everybody was giving, and, they implemented it their own way, but,
Mm,
still, I've heard people have, issues with the horde itself, that it was
really?
too CG, wasn't practical enough. There's no time where the bloater was practical, and it's like,
Wow.
fair enough. I would give that conceit to go ahead and get everything else that we got in this episode, but,
Yeah.
to each their own. I do like when they use the practical suits and everything, like, I'm sure you saw the behind the scenes of the first bloater where they've got, like, a stuntman basically behind
Hmm.
it, kind of piloting the thing. It looked cool. I guess when it's kind of doing its final approach, maybe they could have done that, but
Plus, that was
still.
when they did the first one. It was a nighttime scene, so you could kind of
Yeah,
cheat a little bit. The lighting's
for sure.
a little bit more mysterious, but I don't know. There's a lot happening. Like leave it to HBO to
Yeah,
put their money on the screen because I couldn't help but think of like Game of Thrones type shit where it's just like this is popping
and you
off.
you can't help but think of that. It really does seem like a lot of those battles. Um,
Mhm.
so I did see that Master Casalis was saying, it's weird that Dina was on patrol instead of Tommy. Um, I hear what he's saying, but man, it kind of, for me, it works. One of the contrivances that people were bringing up before was that Tommy and Joel are so experienced, there's no way they would have, like, given away their name or anything like this.
Mm,
Putting it in kind of a more, green character's, point of view, like, that, in a moment of panic, she's the one who lets out who they are. Perhaps, Joel would have been more guarded. I kinda like that, and it does kinda implement some of the feedback that some of the people were saying, like, "This is a contrivance. How dare Joel just give away his identity? He knows better than that." To me, this kind of solves that issue where it's like she only finds out because of Dina, and then his relationship with Dina, to me, it works. It seems like he's really trying to get, with, Ellie's best friend to kinda further, hopefully strengthen his bond with Ellie as well.
right.
Maybe if they have, more of a mutual connection, and then it also seems like he's kinda using her as a surrogate Ellie as well because Ellie kind of won't give him that connection that he's looking for. So I don't know, for me, it works, but I can understand people saying, "This isn't what happens in the game, so I don't like it."
Yeah. So, how much have you seen from? I, I give your feed a lot of crap, but you
Uh,
tend to experience a bit more cursed views on
yeah.
things.
So, fair enough. I do see a whole bunch of, people who are still not happy with it, but a lot of the details seem to be, like, the same thing that they hated from the first one, like, or sorry, when the game was first released, I should say.
Mhm.
Just, like, they hated the character of Abby and how jacked she is, but now they're hating on the show that Abby is not jacked, and it's like, I don't know. Did he take your feedback or whatever? But it seemed like they understand the point of it that, like she spent those 4 years really turning herself into a weapon, and now they're missing that is what they're arguing. But man, for me, Abby was fierce enough. I totally believe what was going on, the fact that they have somebody unarmed and then she's got that much rage. Yeah, I can see a whole bunch of damage being inflicted by her. I don't think she needs to have, massive biceps in order to, do that, but, again, I'm not everybody, so, maybe, since I like the way that the first one is kinda told, I'm not the best judge of that. It does seem to be rubbing some people the wrong way.
Hold that thought. We're losing 2 out of 3 frames. I'm going to
Oh,
pause this
no.
for a second, and I'm gonna try to switch, my connection. So, if you're
Okay.
if you're watching, just sit still for a second. And Gray, I'm probably gonna cut out for a half a second. So,
Deal. We'll be back.
yeah, we'll be right back. I don't know how badly this is. All right, so that's bad. It fixed? Is the frame rate all right? Is the more important question. Yeah. Okay. Um, I think.
Sorry, I think we're back now, ish. I guess I could turn on my camera. I don't have any
Yeah, I
idea.
haven't dropped a frame since we've been back. So
Sweet.
okay. So apologies for that. I guess it happened last week too. I'll have to go back and maybe I haven't found any like proper footage of the episode just yet. But last week there was something of a benefit because it was like 4 days later. So there's that. Uh,
Ah.
Hayden, Hayden, thank you, $2 super chat. Joel in one told Cody Top Golf needs to sponsor. Yes,
Oh,
yes, indeed. We will get to that. But
prime opportunity.
yeah, get a tight
They're
list.
missing out.
So we last talked about the negative responses, and I think that's kind of unique because much like I felt in season one, the things that they were adding to it just felt like extra credit. It was just like delicious icing on top of the cake that already tasted good. Um, in this season so far, it feels like the gripes that I know about the game, other than Abby being kind of butch looking, um, it feels like some of the issues that have been had, and I did a discussion with yourself and Andrew, otherwise known as Foxroo, on Thinkers, and we went over that for about 2 hours on an episode of Weekend Live, and I can't
Felt like
help
longer.
it. There were some things like in this episode alone, some of his gripes. It was like one of the things he had issue with was the fact that Joel gave his name away in the game because that's not the type of person Joel is. And in this episode, they don't have Joel say his name. It's more a thing where Abby finds out, and there's this moment where she gathers with her group and she like lets them know his name's Joel, and
Mhm.
it plays a bit more smoothly. It's not like that moment in the game was that big a deal to me, but in the show, it's just like, all right, awesome. Like you said, the fact that he's with Dina, um, the dynamic of what's happening there is slightly different. So, I
To me, it works, and it
right,
it feels like Druckmann is actually, like, hearing a lot of the feedback. He also kinda changes the fact that you now know kind of why Abby is doing this, where in the game, they try to make it as jarring as possible. It is kinda one of those infamous moments where here, it seems like they're trying to make it a little bit more palatable for a viewing audience.
right,
So I kinda dig those changes. I think it does kinda soften it for me. It didn't seem as jarring, to the wife. She seemed to kinda dig it, and she understood it, but, I mean, she's a fan of, like, Game of Thrones, and she likes the shows where you don't know, like, if a character is going to be around or whatever.
yeah.
So,
First things first,
um
we had we had we had um we had Bigot Sandwich. So I was on board from Bigot Sandwich in, so
But again, it sounds like it's feedback because that seemed to be people's main complaint, and the actual line, it feels like he's actually hearing what people are complaining about and
sure.
possibly making little changes. So I'm digging those little things. To me, it kind of works, but maybe that's placating and proving that he was wrong in the first place.
Well,
I'm not sure.
it seems like for as much as there are slight tweaks and, not enough to completely, upend the direction of where the story's headed, I it doesn't do anything negatively to me. As much as people don't like the bigot sandwich thing, like, that was my chicken jockey
It's
for
not
the
the
episode.
action. Yeah, it's the line though. Like I don't know. So the fact that he changed it, omitted it, it really works for me. I don't know. I don't think they were really complaining that like somebody would react that way if their daughter is being harassed. I think people kind of understand that, but the next line, it does seem a little cheesy. I don't know.
Yeah,
You
I
could probably go further.
sure, and it felt like they laid back a little bit. They reeled it in a bit, and in some instances, like I'm all over the place. Um, Abby, her monologue was just so heavy and so incredible. We'll get to that. So what I'll do is we'll split this up because it's really
Deal.
A1 and A2 plot. So we'll stick with Jackson, and the fact that the fact that Tommy is back at Jackson and kind of leading the town to um, fight for themselves, and they have that pipe, the cordyceps, the whatever in the pipes. That is a huge moment that the people that are chasing Abby, who's chasing Joel, they split because of the ruptured pipe. Awesome. It's something that's just not in the game that I felt like, incredible. Thank you very much. Just keep filling it up. Um, but on top of that, there are moments where either Tommy or his wife, you genuinely feel like, all right, so these people aren't here in the game. Are we experiencing something that could actually go to shit? And the fact that Tommy deals with the bloater in the end, I mean, this is why I hate watching
Yeah.
trailers. We have that flamethrower thing, but I was like, it's one on one there. Like, are we going to have a big change here? And it made it fun for me. I don't know how you felt about that, but the action
So I
alone was
don't know
worth.
how. Yeah, I agree with you. So anyone who complained about the lack of action in I'm sorry, my bird's yelling in the background. As for anyone who complained about the lack of action in the first one, I don't think you can complain about the action in this one. It
No.
just seems like the right amount and it's somewhat over the top at times, but perfect. I somehow completely missed the trailer for episode two.
Oh,
So
good for you.
when they split and Tommy wasn't on this patrol mission, it actually so while I knew what was gonna happen on the A plot, kinda the B plot where we're going back to Jackson, man, I actually had some worry. It's like, "Wait a minute, what does he do that they
Right.
couldn't give to somebody?" Like, there is some actual kinda threat here, and then, when they start showing the rooftops getting hit, it's like, "Hmm." Uh,
Right.
so, yeah, I actually had some genuine, worry. I did not know where they were going with it, and, man, so if I do have one bit of criticism, like, come on, you gotta put the flamethrowers, like, slightly off the ground. Like, they're not meant to be, like it doesn't have great stopping power, or for every flamethrower, you need to have, like, some riflemen right next to them. Because man, that it just not great planning, but other than that, their plan worked great. But yeah, I just I really dug the way that they were doing this and kind of building out the Jackson plot. I guess you could say it's, a plot contrivance or convenient that, just at the time that this horde was going after, Joel and, his camp, instead, they just happen to crack into the pipe, and then that lets everyone else know through this, kinda hive mind tendril thing that's going on,
Huh.
that this is the new threat. I guess you could see that as a contrivance, but they've been setting it up. For me, it works, but I'm willing to suspend my disbelief a bit. But,
Right. Plus, it's something of It's something like a double-edged sword there because Abby is the one that, like, wakes them up, for lack of a better definition, while she's, uh, tracking Joel and, like, that was awesome having all of the snow and just like a random hand sticking out of the ground and she slowly realizes like, oh, the floor's moving and it's not the floor, it's not an avalanche, it's just a pile of frozen cordyceps heads. And the fact that she starts that and she's actually drawing them to Joel and them, and because they open the pipe, like half of them deviate and go towards Jackson. Like if is it a contrivance? Yes, but
I mean,
I
it happens simultaneously,
mhm,
so I guess you can argue it's awfully coincidental or convenient that that happened, so maybe, but, I don't know. For me, it works. I guess the other thing that you could argue is, they told us in the beginning that, they found all these living ones under a bunch of dead ones, that they're using them for insulation.
mhm.
They didn't show it to us. I guess we could have seen somebody on patrol see that, but I don't know. To me, it kinda sticks with the game and the way that it's kind of presenting the information, but, um, I don't know. Those are kind of the 2 complaints that I've seen, and it's like, well, maybe. I could definitely see that as, I guess it's convenient, but, I'm willing to let that go. This is what happens at that exact moment because, again, Abby is the one who triggered them, so I don't know. For me, it works, but, for some, it might be a bit too much.
Yeah, there's a bunch of minor wrinkles. Like there are 3 major minor wrinkles in the episode that they change from the game. First of all, well, I guess one is like a double where you have Joel and Dina, but then you have uh, Ellie and what the fuck's his name? God damn it, so bad.
Jesse.
Jesse. They're the ones that go and find the pot supply, and again,
Eugene's shop, man.
Eugene, excuse me, the 7-Eleven, otherwise known as
I
Eugene's Pot
I think
Growery.
I think we're getting a Bill episode out of Eugene. I'm hoping
Oh,
so. I hope he's gonna be
definitely.
the one-off.
And that's the other thing too. Like, if you can put an asterisk in this and bring this topic back around, I feel like we're not done with Joel. I really feel like one, maybe 2 more episodes at least of Joel, because as someone who's seen footage, at the very least, we have the museum scene where like they're in the spaceship. Like I've seen that in some sort of marketing footage. So uh, yeah,
And
for later.
without
But
looking at the trailers, they totally set up that, more happened in between what we saw last night at the, uh, I wanna call it a hoedown, but, the party, and then, where it is today. If you notice, it shows the guitar is back, it's in its stand, it has new strings on it. It looks like
oh,
obviously Joel and her met up at some point, even though it showed her just walk past him while he's on the porch. I'm guessing at some point he came to see her or something. So I think we'll get much more. And you played the game. There's a lot of memories.
yeah.
Even what Abby has shown with kind of her traumatic memory, where she keeps going back to the moment.
Mm,
A very similar thing just happened to Ellie. So
that was a
I
hell
think
of
they're gonna draw more parallels.
the the episode opens with Abby in something of a dream sequence where she's walking down the hallway to that moment and she's like talking to herself, and I was kind of surprised to see that moment. Well, first of all, right away in the episode. Secondly, that's something that we don't experience it quite like that. This is where I feel like film can kind of, I don't know, have some sort of liberties with things. Um, it that happens much later in the game, and I'm kind of glad we had a lot more of Abby. Granted, we didn't have much at all in the first episode, but I felt like this was more than enough. Um, but another thing to put an asterisk in, a pin in. So
Yeah.
let's try to.
Sorry, so we're back at Jackson?
It's my fault.
Or
I am so scatterbrained. Jackson, the the slight creases that they put in it, like the fact that people were to bunker and go downstairs or go on roofs, um, it was neat. And it's like you brought it up earlier, the fact that once they broke through the walls and they made it up to the rooftops. Uh, you have two semi-important characters so far this season. There's threat. There's an amount of stakes where we are. If you're familiar with what's happening in the game, there are differences already. So you don't know. Are they going to go in a different direction? Or are they? Is this where the story bifurcates? So it if
Well, and it could also resonate on that same message because it seems like people could still want to get revenge, especially if they find out what kind of started the horde or whatever. I could see
ooh
if only one of those two characters was left, that would be, yet another like reflection of the same theme. But I wasn't sure, so it felt like the stakes were real.
Yeah. Yeah, Dice. Hello, Dice. Dice says the little avatar dudes are cool. I think there's something in the back of my family's fridge that looks similar to Gray's. Yeah, you got to throw that mustard out. um, yeah. So I
And then I guess as long as we're talking about Jackson, but man, that is an amazing battle set piece. So I don't know if you know the director that did this one. Were you familiar with the dude? I'm
it wasn't
blanking on
Craig
his name right
Mazin.
now. No,
It was
it's
somebody
Mark
else.
Mylod.
Okay.
Yeah, or Mylod. But you've definitely seen his work. So he did like 16 episodes of Succession. He
Oh,
directed The Menu. He directed a whole bunch of other ones. So
wow,
I guess he was not worried about the battle scene, but it was really kind of recreating the A plot,
dude.
that main scene, which I get it. But man, that battle scene for me works really well.
Succession and Menu. Those are like
I
talkers.
know.
There's not a heavy duty Game of
But
Thrones
the
shit. That's
camera
awesome.
looks good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know, I thought the talking looked good in this one. I think he was able to get some really good
And
angles in
and the
there.
scope, the cinematography was just fucking awesome. Like, I don't recall if it was so early in the game, so I don't remember how much of that we saw, if at all, on the Jackson end. But I don't remember it being anything like that. And to capture that in a second episode of a season, again, we're at
Mhm.
the, like the third mark of the season. Um, it reminds me of like what I enjoyed about Game of Thrones, where Ned Stark, uh, he wasn't long for that world. It's stuff like that where all bets are off, and because of the way they slightly tweaked things, um, I kind of wish, like, this is like really just beggars being choosers at this point, but I almost wish that we knew more people at Jackson to like feel like, ooh,
Mm.
are we going to lose some people? It reminds me of like Walking Dead when they were in that boarded up suburban town, and like they were threatened at times, and you lost a few people there. Doesn't have quite the same, I don't know, emotional
Yeah.
attachment here, but I really am okay with that. Tommy and I don't know, is their kid?
Tara from True Blood?
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
no, yeah, Tara. um, their kid. I don't remember if they showed their kid in that at all, but
I know they showed a kid down in the basement, like, with all of the other families, so I'm not sure if that was theirs. I was not truly paying attention to that part, but, there were kids in that scene when it kept showing the cellar. Perhaps
yeah,
that's worth a second view.
like if that's what we're using as filler for the
Mhm.
the heavy duty emotional shit, like I'll take that every day and twice on Sunday. Luckily, it airs on Sunday, so
Yeah, you'll get it at least once on Sunday. Um, but yeah, man, it worked for me, and I thought that was actually, like, a hard-hitting zombie battle. W
Mm,
it has aspects of kinda World War Z into it,
yeah,
just crashing into a wall, but man, there's kind of a lot of Game of Thrones in there too, and just I think this rivals a good portion, especially of the latter Game of Thrones battles. Uh, you could see what was going on in this, but, yeah, I really dug it. For me, the whole Jackson subplot is just, like, amazing. I'm really digging that as well, and then adding that to an extra threat and, an extra factor to consider on the other plot.
yeah,
I'm really digging this.
yeah. So everyone who was watching that, people who are familiar with the game and normies, like your wife, uh, neither of us had the proper intuition at that point because things were tweaked enough for us to be like, all right, maybe someone could actually
Yeah.
perish here. This is pretty gnarly, and it felt it. It certainly felt it. Like I don't know if I go back and watch it without so much excitement and you know and eagerness to experience it. I don't know if maybe it feels like a little contrived, but I was there for it for that. Um, and they didn't really have time to linger on the effects of that battle just yet. I'm kind of hoping that we do experience the aftermath of that huge battle in episode 3, but that's got to be devastating for that group. And I can't help but think
For sure.
moving forward, if they follow the parallels to the game, I can't help but think Tommy, if he goes ahead and does what he did in the game, there's going to be some sort of you know tension, some pushback, because the
You'd assume so.
the town is now just decimated, and he's gonna. Well, we don't know about that,
Well,
so maybe
so I guess that's the other contrivance or convenience. Like you do see the size of this town, so it is huge, but then the parts that we see isn't necessarily the biggest, and maybe that's why we don't necessarily know these characters. But it seems like they're being completely overrun, and then we cut away to the other plot, then we come back, and it's under control. So I guess that could be. I've seen that as a complaint. For me, it kind of makes sense. The size of it, it is bigger than the Horde, but maybe I'm wrong. I could see them getting it under control, especially if they did have secured points and it kept going down. We just didn't see all of it, but
yeah, there's tiny little elements that I mean, which kind of plays into what you were just talking about. There's tiny elements that I kind of dug, like when they lined up to get ready for the ones that were breaking through the wall, and you have a couple of dudes just drop off. It's like, yeah, cowards. This is what normal people are like, because like it makes sense that if people were to get used to regular neighborhood lifestyle, some people aren't fighters, and it was tiny, it was very short, but I appreciate the fact that they just showed people just noping right out of any sort of a,
for sure.
a, go ahead.
Can I ask your opinion on the comment that you have up there, the Master Caecilius's one?
Yeah,
Uh, so how long is the gameplay, or how long was the gameplay for you
for
for
me 600
Last of Us
hours.
2? Okay, so that might be a little bit
Yeah,
long,
I
but
I think normally the game is like at least 26 hours, maybe closer to 30,
that's what I was
32. Yeah,
thinking.
Master Caecilius says they put
It is.
7 hours of
Sorry,
gameplay.
please go right ahead.
Yeah, they put 7 hours of gameplay into the first 2 hours. I don't know how they're going to stretch this into 2 seasons. I would tend to think that some of the things we experienced in that first 7 hours, we haven't gotten it yet. Because I really feel
For
like
sure.
they've rearranged a little bit. I
I I agree, and then, the other thing is we always get, like, well, I'm assuming we're getting one episode that's kind of a flashback, that's
Mhm.
kind of somebody else from the world, like the Bill episode. I'm assuming this season is gonna be Eugene, because why else would you get this awesome actor that we haven't seen anything of? But maybe I'm wrong. Uh, it could just be a Joel episode, who knows? But, you do have all of that. You do have now it's 5 years in between that you could take a bunch of time from, but
Mhm.
you're right, it seems like no matter what, they're gonna have to either stretch what's in the game or go outside of it for 2 full seasons. So, I don't know, maybe they're gonna go outside of it, but
Yeah,
I'm not sure where that would be.
um, the Eugene episode, like that could be heavy duty. Like it's pretty clear. We kind of slightly discussed it last week, but it's pretty clear that the theme of this season is like vengeance and how to handle that. Um, I I'm curious to see that whether or not we get that Eugene backstory, and to know how his wife has handled it. Um, if it's something that completely contrasts what Ellie will end up doing and what Abby has done, like I really feel for the sake of the narrative, having those white and black ways of dealing with it is it's just again extra cream in the coffee. I'm just going to keep using weird
I mean, extra cream in the coffee is not too bad, but there's a limit.
extra icing on
Uh,
the cake.
yeah, I totally dig that, and there's more that they kind of expanded, like in that scene with Ellie and Jesse, who are in Eugene's 7-Eleven pot grow up.
Yeah.
Uh, so they see that he was a Firefly, and that's when Jesse mentions something about like Joel having to take him out, and there's a look on Bella Ramsey's face that it seems like she knows more. I'm assuming there is more to this situation than he just had to put down somebody who was bit.
Yeah,
But
Joey just
I'm not
said
sure.
that. Do you think revealing Eugene is one of the Fireflies, is it going to be one of the factors that results in his death by Joel?
I'm not sure because they definitely showed his medallion, whatever dog tag from the
Mm.
Fireflies there, and that was right around the time where she gave a different look. So I'm not sure how aware she is. It it's hard to say, but it does look like there might be more to that story than we kind of got. That it's not just someone got bit.
It'd be wild if Catherine O'Hara's character somehow knows the Abby bunch, because if they were Fireflies, we know that the Wolves, the WLF contingent of ex Fireflies, maybe they're aware of each other. I don't know.
Maybe I don't see that because of Joel's character. Like if that was the case, I think he could actually say the words, like what he did to for Ellie in therapy, where he just couldn't like bring himself to say it.
Hmm.
Kind of like when Abby is like torturing him, like there isn't much that he actually says. It's just he mentions Salt Lake City and that's about it. Like I don't think he's the talkative type. So if she knows that information, it's definitely not from him. He seems to still be keeping it a secret from her. He doesn't know that she would know.
I saw a claim against the Abby character as someone who's soulless, and I don't know.
Even with the way that Deaver's playing it, or
y- Yeah,
Devers playing it in this one,
I think it's Caitlin Devers. I don't. I know there's
I
a
can't remember if
baseball
it's
player
Deaver or
called
Dever.
Raphael Devers, and they have the same spelling. So it's probably
I've heard it pronounced both ways,
right.
so I know
Right.
I'm wrong at least one of the ways that I'm pronouncing it. Um, but I think it adds another element because the other thing is, why would he possibly be soft towards Abby at all? Why would Joel possibly be accepting soft? Uh, she looks an awful lot like Ellie, way more in this iteration of it than
Mm,
the other one. In fact, it is the actress that was originally cast to play Ellie when it was going to be a movie, and then she aged out of the role because they couldn't get it off the ground. But now she gets to come back as Abby. Just to me, it adds that kind of extra element. Like he's still longing for this relationship with Ellie. He's working on himself. He's trying to be nicer, softer to Ellie, but to me, that adds one more element where people were complaining, like, why would you kind of trust this person? To me, it just adds one more little element of why Joel would put himself in a vulnerable position. But, it's still might not be enough for those that hate the idea.
yeah. I don't. We're going to see more of them. So I like. How do you feel about the fact that people are still bothered? I would assume people who have not played the game feel like losing Joel at this moment is still abrupt and early. Um, I would
It
argue
is.
that his well, I mean, they've said this a couple of times. His story, he was like supposed to die at the end of the first one, like that was supposed to be it for him. So, we had this discussion with Andrew where I feel like the way that Joel's daughter is the spark for season one, to give us, you know, the the push within his character, his motivation. I would
Mhm.
say we just have a little bit more of that for season two. I feel like
Yeah, it's still a Miller that's being the push for the
right.
inciting incident of the season.
I
Sure.
I would say that him dying is now we now know what Ellie's purpose, or at least as far as she is concerned, her purpose is moving forward, and it's seeking revenge, and, like, she literally says at the end, I'm gonna kill every
Mhm.
last one of them," and it's just like, "Oh, okay." That we've had that. We've had the, Abby character say something very similar, and she said, "When we do it, we're gonna do it slow, it's gonna take time," and she absolutely did that. So I can't help but think for storytelling purposes, this is very similar to the first season. Is it early? Yes, but is this the first time we've experienced a character we've known and loved, dying before a finale?
No, I think this has the special place in people's hearts. I mean, they played as this character, they loved it, and then, it's like a decade later, suddenly this is how he goes out. For a lot of people, that was tough. I and the way that they chose to do it, where you don't exactly know why and you don't know who, just this like seemingly, you know, irredeemable character
But
just does this act.
how can the claim be made that Joel is a character that we love and we're with so much? How can the claim be made that Abby is a cruel person, where she's just doing what Joel, like Joel's done it like 50-fold.
Mhm,
So like if we
for
just
sure.
caught up with any one of his victims' wife, child, parent, whatever, like they're kind of right to have their feelings, and you know to some group, Joel is the bad guy. It shouldn't. I can't understand why someone could not understand that this is just the same thing on the other side of a coin.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
Um, to me, it just kinda makes sense. I guess, it always sucks if somebody's your favorite character and then they kind of take them off. I know I experienced that with, like, X-Men '97. Granted, it's a cartoon. It's not quite the same impact, but man, what they were able to do with this character, it just, I absolutely love it. But, if you told me, you're gonna love seeing, one of your favorite characters get taken out, I would have called you a liar. But, I hope that they're able to kind of expand upon this the same way that they have been doing so far. If so, I think it can really bring this whole narrative home,
Hmm.
where I think some people felt it was very lacking. A lot of people just quit right after that point, and then you don't get any of the kinda explanation. You don't go on the journey, you don't get to see it kind of from her point of view. The other thing is, Joel was the main POV character, so you kind of assume that's gonna be similar in the second one, but, you don't
Right.
exactly get that.
So like it's time to just we're kind of there already. I guess we just segue into the 1A or the 1B plot, depending on how you're grading it. Um,
Yeah, sorry, I think I switched that on you. My bad.
it's fine. I mean, if you're an action junkie, the 1A was Jackson. Um, so I'm trying to think of some of the things that happened earlier in the episode that were ever so important. Oh,
So you
um,
get warned that there's a blizzard out there, and you get warned that they've found swarms that seem to be hiding under dead bodies of other members of the swarm.
yeah.
Those are 2 kinda big threats that it sets up in the beginning.
Plus the group that Abby's with, they're kind of uh, they're posers for a lack of a better term, because their big thing was you didn't say it was a city, and they were like
Mhm.
they were intimidated. Like, what are we gonna do? We're gonna act
Well,
like we're tougher than we are. Let's just go
I mean,
back.
you saw the scale of it. It's definitely a scaled up Jackson in this.
Hmm.
It is much more of a full functioning city. And as Druckmann kind of pointed out, I think it was on his podcast like 2 episodes ago. By the way, there's an awesome companion podcast that Troy Baker hosts, the
Huh?
voice of Joel. And then it's Neil Druckmann and usually the director, I believe, of the episodes.
That's awesome.
But yeah, that thing's pretty awesome. Uh, but yeah, it just, he happened to point out. Essentially, this could be the last city that's around in the world for all anyone knows, but, man, I didn't think of it as a full functioning city. I was still thinking of it as kinda like a camp. You see those walls and everything, but, man, I really, dig the scale that they kinda made with Jackson and then the attack on it. But,
Yeah.
sorry, we're talking about the other plot, and I went
No,
back to
no,
this.
it's fine because they were intimidated, and if anything, they were like trying to talk themselves out of doing this. Like, the people that aren't Abby don't have the same investment, and if anything, they're like, "Yeah, we just kinda wanna keep living." And, they're posing as a threat, and, uh, as far as what their mindset is when Abby leaves for her, turn in the rotation, their thought process is, "All right, we might be done and be going home."
Mhm.
Uh,
And they make that clear in this, where in the game, it's also kind of ambiguous. You don't really know what it is, but it seems like they're willing to more follow her for some unknown reason. It seems like they're more willing to do whatever. In this, I kinda like that it's, they were somewhat placating her, but now the plan is to figure out how to get her to abandon the mission.
yeah,
I kinda dig that change.
and plus there's the stipulation, the caveat that we're only hurting Joel, or, we're here for one thing,
Mhm,
and they even, like, reinforce that when Joel and Dean are picked up, and they're like, "Wait, what do you mean?" And,
mhm.
Abby's, like, trying to keep her poker face, like, "Just shut up." But that's kind of getting ahead of things. So, again, one of the dual-ended changes in this episode is Dina is with Joel, and whatever we do or do not know about the relationship between Ellie and Joel, we know that Ellie and Dina are as close to a thing as can be, given the information we've had. So having them split up and, needing help on top of, like, the Jackson being under distress, the fact that, there's a moment or two where Ellie kinda looks back and sees that, shit's just, Jackson's getting their shit pushed in, and, just deciding, "Let me go for the
But
2
all that
people that
while a
I."
storm's going on too, because the storm also feels like a threat.
Sure.
Abby's group, they they seem to be feeling the cold up there, and then, you can see, both Jesse and, Ellie have to take, shelter because the blizzard is too much, and they don't want the horses to be overcome or whatever.
Mm.
Having that as this other factor going on for it, that also kinda helps me out.
Yeah.
Especially with, what people were calling contrivances before. I think, you gotta make quick decisions when there's multiple threats going on at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, and, because, there's a tiny line going back to what was considered contrivances. There's a line in the beginning where people in Jackson are talking about where we were taking people in. Um, they didn't really get into specifics, but I remember thinking, "Okay, this I if I have a problem with what's about to happen, like, this is enough for me that they're worried about infected. They're not really they're taking people in. There was someone who was, like, being shown around the town because, they were new or whatever. That was enough to me, and, considering shit's popping off when Abby's getting chased, uh, you almost due to the scope and the size of the group of infected that are chasing Abby, that, even if Joel doesn't save Abby and doesn't say his name, um, it's almost like a thing that we have to take care of this, because even if she gets taken out, they're still right on us. So I I I I can't imagine someone who had the complaints about how Abby and Joel come across one another. I don't know how much more you want from this, knowing that they need to cross paths. How else do
Mhm.
you want that table set? Because I really feel like they did some incredible things while also, like, tweaking and adding to it so that, she finds out that his name's Joel without him saying it. Things are a bit more frantic, and they cut out that whole moment where Joel and, Tommy are fighting off the infected. Now it's just, uh, "Fuck, what are we gonna do? We're overrun." And she says, "Well, I have a house that's close."
But
Um,
you still get a lot of those amazing visuals like that. It's still a real nail biting sequence of her going under the chain link fence. You even get like the hand being just separated by the fence. It's just being pushed on it so hard.
Yeah.
Uh, I really dug the way that they were able to kind of capture that. A lot of it matches the game, but
Mhm.
the intensity seems like it's still really there and really ramped up.
Yeah,
For me, I really like that
no,
sequence.
absolutely. It's like a shot for shot replication and even a little bit more fierce in the show because like the fence kind of folds in and like cracks at a 90-degree angle, which it didn't happen in the game, but like it's just more tense. It was I I I I don't know what else. Knowing that that altercation needs to happen, how else do you want that to play out? I don't know how you make
Mhm.
that happen without.
To me, so Master Caecilius and Ninja are kind of mentioning the other part, the Ellie and Dina scene that would have happened in the pot shop, the 7-Eleven.
Oh, right, right.
They were saying like, do you think they took that out to make it more palatable? I kinda don't think so. One of the things that a lot of people were saying was a plot contrivance was that Joel and Tommy would have known better than to actually say the name. I think for me, this really kinda answers that question of, would they actually be so guarded as to, like, give out fake names or not say anything? Because it seems like, over the radio, their call is whatever section they're actually at or whatever. So it seems like they're being somewhat cautious about it. But having Dina there, who's a little bit new to this, who's one of the younger ones, apparently 4 years younger than Jesse, about the same age as Ellie. To me, that kinda works. I could see them in a moment of being scared and worrying about the possibility of a horde on them
Pl
yelling out his name.
plus
To me, that really works.
plus the only experience that we have of Dina with Joel is Joel trying to, you know, show that he cares about Ellie, and he's trying his best to, you know,
Also watched
amend
that '80s
things.
movie together. They were gonna watch, number 2 or
Right,
whatever,
right, so she
that
doesn't know
other
of
night.
Joel as, like, this hardened shitbag that Ellie does. She knows him more as someone who's, a bit softer around the edges, so, like, I certainly believe that she would be someone who wouldn't think of, "Oh, I shouldn't give his name out," because it's believable that everything's just popping off and, yeah, really, really wrong place at the wrong time. Uh, yeah,
I'd like to think that that's why they kinda changed that pot scene, and they're able to kinda go into a little bit more of Eugene also, and it kinda makes more sense if Jesse knew about Eugene, seeing as how he's, like, 4 years older, and this happened at some point in there, where Dina's kinda the same age as Ellie, or around the same age as her, so it kinda makes more sense to me, but you might have a point that they, might have toned that down. They also took out the line "bigot sandwich," so maybe it is a way of toning it down to make it more palatable. Those were criticisms as well, but the way that they shot the party the night before, I really don't think that they're, fearing of that. I'm assuming that's where the story
you're
is going.
talking about
I don't think they changed
the
that.
intimacy, is what you're
Yeah.
referencing. Yeah,
I'm assuming. So I think it was just to kinda answer the other thing, but I could be wrong.
yeah, Ninja Bombing says, "Dina didn't know Abby, so there was her yelling Joel's name. Cool seeing Caitlin Deaver's reaction." Right, it's
Mhm.
like, absolute best place at the, worst time, I guess, and, like, I don't remember if it happened in the game as similarly, but when they go back to the house and it's presented if you don't know what you're about to experience, it's presented like, "Okay, this is safety, we're gonna feed the horses and get ammo and go help the town." And the rest of Abby's group kind of is like that. And, when Abby pulls someone aside and she's like, "He's Joel. His name is Joel," and she, like, holds this stare
Yeah.
for a second, you're like, "Oh, shit."
Well, I thought Deaver's reaction to, like, hearing that name was pretty awesome, but the silent reaction of the whole crew when they hear it and they all know, just man, you get so many different reactions,
Y
and, I should know the one actress who plays a member of the crew, but she's a kind of a Naughty Dog regular. She's the main
oh,
actress in the next one that they
the
had
the
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 kinda
next
space
the
one.
next woke one, yeah, yeah. Her with the shaved head, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. But, that's kinda awesome. I really liked all of their kinda subtle catching on to what they're actually in the middle of. And,
Yeah,
I don't know. To me, there's a lot of silent acting that really worked well in this episode.
I guess if I this isn't a complaint, I would have appreciated more of it if we got to experience Abby's facial expressions, like this conflict of this dude just saved me, but this is the guy that I'm chasing. Like, when they're on the horses heading back to her place, just like some sort of visual. I mean, they had it slightly, but just like for the trip, just having her figure out what am I going to do? What should I do? Um, it's not really a complaint. I guess it would just be extra credit as far as I'm concerned. But uh, I I don't think the group in the game, it's not this divide where like they're unaware of what the situation is in the game. Whereas in the show, it's just like, oh, Abby's back and she's had people help her, and they only find out last second that it's Joel. Like they were ready to leave. Like they were just
Mhm.
waiting for
They're still looking to have that conversation of, "So, this is pointless."
right, right. Like they had come to this conclusion that yeah, this isn't worth it. We're going to go home. Um, and it's another little ironic, dramatic element there that uh, if she didn't come across them, who knows what would have happened. But um, they took liberties and did things differently. Where I'm curious to know what direction they're going to take it, because in the game it's Tommy, and Tommy gets fucked up, and
Mhm.
in this show it's Dina, and they almost like humanely put her down for an hour. And
Well, I mean, they did put the shot right into her frostbite. I think they could have gone anywhere else, if they wanted to be a little bit more humane, but, fair enough. She did get off awfully easy.
well, yeah, and then like after putting her down, they were like, "See, still breathing."
Yeah. I mean, I think they wanna show, they're not hurting her. She's okay.
Yeah,
But yeah, maybe it's a little over the top. In the game, isn't it, they just, like, clock him and he's
yeah,
out? I think it's a pistol whip.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, sorry, Master Casilius is saying that, so, yeah, I should've just looked at chat.
yeah. Pistol whipped Tommy and
I
shot
mean,
Joel in the leg, and the shot to
I
the
I guess
leg.
you'd have to say that's a plot contrivance too, like, who really gets knocked out from being clonked in the head. Like, I've been hit numerous times. It just hurts like hell. Sometimes you get a concussion, but you don't go down every time. I guess that would be plot contrivance. So, this seems to work a little bit more. Again, you've got an actual sedative. Apparently, it's only gonna put her out for an hour, then that also gives them a reason why they need to get the hell out of there, because then they'll have 2 people who are up and at 'em.
Yeah, um, and I think the way the events play out in this show are a bit more devastating. I don't know
Mhm.
how I want to put it is, but like it seems like Joel is ready to go back and help Jackson, and he turns around and just fuck that shotgun thing looked brutal.
Yeah, they found a way. I thought they were gonna tone it down from what they did in the
So did
game,
I.
but I mean, when they do show the whole crew in there, you do kinda see the golf clubs in the back of this, whatever, like, games room in this, lodge.
Chekhov's golf clubs.
So, I assume they were gonna use them, but man, they found a way to be somehow more brutal in this. Yeah, I was not expecting just how, kinda mean they got, but, yeah, they went with the shotgun, but then they're also, like, she's just smacking the shit out of the actual shot knee. Uh,
Yeah.
to me, that seemed a little bit more over the top, but then, the acting, I guess I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but man, there's some stuff that goes on in that final scene that, to me, it's more intense than in the game.
Yeah, I still feel like there's this separation where the group, they're not really interested in beating people up that they don't know are who they came for, and there's something they lose their patience. But when Abby delivers her monologue, it hits harder in this show than it does in the game, and I don't know
You
if
know her a little bit more. Like in the game, it just seems like it's this evil character giving like a villain monologue. But I don't know. Having watched that scene where she's telling herself like, "Don't go in there," like you don't want to see what's in there. Man, I think you truly understand like the trauma that she's. I think that was a really cool representation of what she's been going through for these last 5 years.
yeah, I don't know if it's the fact that it's a game and, like, emotions aren't as, lifelike or whatever, but when she, like, asks Joel, uh, "Be honest and say when the last time you were around fireflies," or whatever, and he says, "Salt Lake," or whatever, and she's like,
Hmm.
"Honest." And it was like, I don't know, it was I don't know, it just worked better for me in this show somehow, and her delivering her monologue as to, like, why she is, where she is, uh, I don't just give me heaping spoons full of it because I was there for it, and on top of all that, like, in the back of my mind, I remember thinking, "Wait, Ellie isn't here. Are they gonna
Hmm.
continue to do different things?" And,
That's why I thought why they where they changed Joel's line because he tells her kind of to shut up more at the beginning in the game if I remember right,
yeah,
but kind of ending it with that like shut up, get it over
yeah,
with.
just yeah.
Man, I kind of dug that. To me, it worked a little bit more effectively where they kind of placed it in this one.
Well, yeah, it's well, obviously, it's towards the end of her diatribe, and she's, like, just going on about her father, which, like, she's probably been practicing this for years, and he's like,
Oh
"Just
yeah,
shut
she's
the
been thinking about
fuck
it for
up and
5 years.
shut the fuck up and get it over with." I was like, "Yeah." And, I forget how they certainly get to the point it's out of order as far as the game is concerned, but Ellie catches up and, um, I think it's interesting that for as much as they know Joel, they don't know Ellie, because they knock her down and put her on the ground. But, like, the fact that Ellie is the person that kinda caused all this, that, you know, uh, she was the body on the table that Abby's father was working on when all this like, the connection there is I don't know, maybe
I
they'll
don't know exactly how much she knows because she didn't hear the whole monologue or anything like that. Like I'm sure she's got the point of it, but I don't know. Still, I don't know how much she knows about the situation because
that's fair because
I
she would
I
be
would like
gone by
to
the time
watch that back because
Abby shows
she
up.
had part of that. Well, I mean, like she hears the thuds, and it sounds like she's still kind of villain monologuing while she's kind of punching him, hitting him with the club. But, yeah, still, it seems way more brutal to me in this particular one. Maybe it's you're actually seeing, humans kind of look this way, but man, the prosthetics that they were able to put on Pascal just look so much like the screenshots from the game.
Right. It
Like,
almost
kinda
it
side by side, they look amazing, but it's the little things that both him and Bella Ramsey are doing, like, in that moment, like, where she's yelling at Joel to get up. He gives this almost, like, microscopic attempt of, like, getting up, and man, that hit me harder than any part of the game. Just, there's little things that he did as Joel, and especially in these moments, just wow. It was pretty intense.
yeah, I would say that if anything, the game kind of s you know, stopped you from seeing things like when there's the final shot, the screen cuts to black in the game, and here we get, like, the Ellie angle, and you just see the broken off golf club go right through his neck, and
They
the
do
Foley work.
something amazing with the audio. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, like, they do the audio where you hear, like, the stabbing, but then at the same time that they're pitch shifting it up, they also do this kinda like, I guess it would be like a reverb. It's kind of this echoiness,
Yeah,
but
this
then they
this
still drop out everything else, and it just goes to this kinda reverb to nothingness, and then just kinda this silence. Man, the way that they're able to kind of pull that off gives it so much more impact.
Eh,
I think even if they were to use that sound effect in the game, it would give it more impact. Just man, they really got the sound design in this particular shot right.
yeah, the show just fucking sticks around. It forces you to look at it. Like you're just looking at his head with a fucking a golf club in it. You're looking at that for a heavy couple of seconds, and then I don't recall. I feel like in the game they just cut to black, and that was it from that moment. Where here you have Ellie crawling over, and you have this crane shot from above them, and it's just fucking brutal.
But you've got this amazing Bella Ramsey performance in there too. It goes from like the saddest sad to the most angry, I'm going to kill you. Man,
Mhm.
like just that transformation in just a couple of seconds in one single take. Uh, Dude, anybody that's giving her shit for playing this character, I'm sorry, watch this episode and tell me that her acting sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's the other complaint that why didn't they just finish Ellie off? I I think they established
They
pretty
try
well.
to answer it that she's got a code, but I mean, clearly Joel is not armed in this moment, so it's not like she's really living by her code. It's her code plus vengeance, but she's got no reason for vengeance against Ellie. So now that she's disarmed,
Yeah,
she's it. It's a little iffy, but it's the same reason why they had the 1 hour sedative. They want to get Dina down, but they don't want to do anything to her. They just want to get out of there.
yeah, I think the explanation of they're just here for Joel, that's they establish that. That's good enough. They're not trying to hurt other people. They even say earlier in the episode, "We're not trying to get killed. We're not, they're not trying to pretend that there's something they're not." And, it's not worth all of the fuss that they're going through. Um, I'm okay with that.
Yes,
I don't know if I'm sorry.
I was just saying, as Joey's saying, like just that Ellie crawling over to Joel. I don't feel like we got that in the game, and man, that was just brutal. That entire section, just the acting in there is just awesome. I think Bella just knocked it out of the park with that.
Right.
But man, it ripped my heart out. But sorry, we got
Oh,
something important that was there.
uh, Christian, $10 super chat. Thank you. Personal opinion, having played both game and watching this episode, the series did it better. That being said, I never wanted a part two for the game, considering that first game was borderline perfect. I don't know if borderline is a word. I,
Yeah.
I don't know of a better experience as far as gaming is concerned. And what Joey brought up, Ellie crawling over to Joel at the end of the episode, absolutely killed me. I couldn't hold back the tears. Do you think? I swear there's more of a lingering, more of a it just a miserable couple of seconds in the show. Do you think the
Hmm.
fact that you know us as a gaming audience, we can't hit the X button or hit start to get the thing over with is could that maybe be toying with our emotional experience with that scene?
I mean, that definitely could. You can't just stop it when you want to. You have to kind of sit there and sit with it. And then they go to, kind of the emotional song after that, and you just still get to sit in that. And then once you get to the credits that are just silence, man, it was an awkward ending to it, but I
I
think it just makes it more powerful.
I actually lost it when they were going back to town on the horses, and they're
Hmm.
dragging the body in the back, and the it's covered in a white sack or something, and there's blood spots on it, and it's just like, oh, why is this hitting me as hard as it is? But it fucking
A lot of it is
brutal.
just the sound design. It is brutal, but man, they chose that particular song, and oh yeah, I think they definitely chose that one for a reason. But not only does that have that impact, but then just dropping out all the sound for the credits, just this eerie silence.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Is there a moment uh, in television series past, without naming a particular character? I can't help but think of Ozymandias in Breaking Bad. If you've seen that episode
Hmm.
where
I believe
we lose a
was that not a
character,
Ryan Johnson episode?
it is indeed. um, but I can't think of like I don't know if this is just recency bias or if they just fucking hit it that hard. But I can't think of very many maybe 5 moments in TV series where a character just gets taken out, and it like you just feel it. Like the cinematography is done well, everything surrounding the shot is done well, and you just emotionally feel it, and there's just it just kind of sits with you, and I
Mhm.
can't help but think that this might be one of those.
For sure. I'm really hard pressed to think of a more impactful episode of anything, especially like an adaptation version of anything.
Mm.
Um, like a lot of the Game of Thrones kind of come to mind, but you kind of expect that, and it doesn't feel like it's still a main character. Just man, it definitely it's rare. It's ballsy. Not a lot of things did it, and that was one of the reasons why it was super, I guess, off-putting and groundbreaking when they did it. But man, I don't think there's some people who will never be able to take this. Just you've done them wrong, and they can't forgive it. But for me, just damn, the impact of this. I'm really scratching my head to come up with like an example that kind of hit harder. But
Christian
again,
brings
it could be the recency bias.
Yeah, Christian brings up part 2 of Last of Us. Reminds me of Aliens 3, the game, not the series. And a lot of people have had
Ooh.
that complaint, which I I get it. I feel like they fleshed this out. If anything, they made it hurt more by having
Hmm.
this. Again, I'll go back to Catherine O'Hara's character. The fact that you have this person who's dealing with her rage, her the way she feels in a completely different way than we've already experienced one people deal with their wanting vengeance. Um, like it just kind of like was in the air, and it just you just anytime they show Joel, uh, I don't know if it's just me, projecting what I think his emotions are onto his face, but there just was this aura of, I don't know, guilt to the way he was carrying himself, and
Kind of, but it still didn't seem like he questioned this decision. Same thing with like with the therapist. It wasn't like he was questioning like, did I do the right thing? He was convinced like he did the right thing there. But it seems like by his code, he understands that Abby still has a reason for revenge. Like it doesn't seem like he's begging for it or saying like you've got this wrong. But I don't know. I really like the performance. It seems to
oh,
like subtly accept it while still absolutely understanding where it's
I
coming from.
I think, without him saying anything, I think, it just, you know, his looks, his eyes, there was some sort of, processing what was being said to him, and maybe there was some sort of guilt, and you know that that had weight to it, but again, when she's about to give her grand finale, he drops in with the "shut the fuck up and get it over with." It's like, oh, yep, still Joel.
Yeah. Yeah. And this Joel's a little bit different, but man, I kind of dig this Joel. It definitely is slightly different from Troy Baker's kind of
Yeah,
portrayal of the character, but still, I think this is up there with one of my favorite actual performances. Uh, I just I gotta be honest, like maybe this and Oberon are kind of my two favorite ones from the lovely Joel actor,
Oberon.
Pedro Pascal. Yeah, from Game of Thrones. I don't know if you made it that far, but Oberon was amazing. I think those might be my two favorite
Okay.
ones. His performances, just there's some subtle things that I've never seen him do where he's doing in this Joel character. I thought for sure I was just going to see this kind of goofy Pedro Pascal, and that's not what I'm seeing in this. So I really dug it, and the fact that he's not necessarily done, I dig that.
Yeah, like there's some things that people listen. If you have no experience with the game, if you haven't been on the internet in the last 5 years, and you didn't know what you were in for, complaining about his character dying so soon, I I don't think you're being fair to television, cinema over the course of history. Like people went into Psycho thinking that Janet Leigh was, the star of that movie. Spoilers for a 70-year-old movie,
I mean,
but
she kind of is. She's on the poster in like one of the most iconic scenes.
sure,
You know,
but
the chocolate syrup scene.
she's out within half an hour. So this isn't the first time that, like, if you think that, you know, Pedro Pascal is the the lead actor of this series, his arc was pretty much wrapped up in that first season, and if anything, like they set it up that, the things that he did in that first season, they're going to catch up with him in the person of Abby, and now, like I said earlier, the fact that uh, the first episode of the first season, we have Joel's daughter die, and that, like, kind of shoots off where he's going. Season 2, granted, it's an episode later, but Joel dying is gonna shoot off where Ellie's going, and as far as storytelling is concerned, it's a lot of meat on that bone.
For sure. As Jacob's kind of pointing out, like he's saying that he's glad that he was killed early. Some people wanted him to stick around till like the midway point. I've even heard some people saying that they wanted that to be the finale of season 2, and then season 3 could kind of be the rest of the journey. I don't know how you'd pad out an entire season like that,
Hmm.
unless they were going to go and explain that like 5 years in between now that we have in the show. But
Yeah,
yeah, I think it's really ballsy. I can't think of another one that kind of did that with an episode 2. It really seems like it is kind of either mid-season finale or kind of finale, and that's about where you do something as big as that. But I dig it.
yeah. Ninja Bombing says, I'm happy now they're doing flashbacks properly. I I feel like we're if there's only 5 episodes left, I don't think we're getting I don't half of the stuff that happens in Seattle in the game. I mean, I think I know where they could leave off at the end of this season, but
Yeah, I think it would
maybe
have to
not.
be kind of a cliffhanger, but there's a couple of moments like that. So
Sure.
I have an idea too. I'd be interested in yours, but fair enough.
Yeah, there's I mean, if you don't know the game, there's a moment where 2 characters meet up, and it could be 2 different characters, not even, well, without getting into it, there's I guess, if and when the season comes to an end and that moment happens, I guess we'll circle back on this, but there's a couple of different directions. I'm of the mentality that if you wanted to stretch this out for the sake of repairing how people feel about the game, if you do it properly, I'm there for it. But I agree. Like, I genuinely feel like Joel's story was done, and if anything, he's an accessory to Ellie's story now. And I I don't know what else you would want from his character at this point, especially with, the,
Flashbacks.
and we're going to get that. So I think the flashbacks, especially with the Eugene thing, if they do it right, if they do what I would imagine is going to be done, it's going to make it way heavier, like this vengeance thing, or maybe Joel was lying about the way that went down, and that'd be interesting too. Like, I think there's a lot of different directions you can go in with flashbacks and giving us the truth of his perspective on things, but I,
Was just reading Ninja Bombing's comment. I think you did a really safe bet that you're thinking that the stopping point is when two characters meet together at some point. I think that's a pretty safe bet.
yeah, yeah, right. And we all know how much I love theaters, so inexplicably, I have a popcorn machine here. I just love movie theaters, or theaters, but um, just wanted to bring that up in no
I
particular.
also love the theater and pickleball. So, sometimes you can combine those two. That's not true. I don't like pickleball. But Master Casellas has a kind of awesome question. Do you think there were better casting choices for Ellie and Abby? And if so, do you think they nailed it? Um,
It's
do
hard
you
to
want
s
me to go first on
you
this one? Oh, you're
you
going first?
no, no,
You please, sir.
you go ahead because
Um, so I kinda wanna lean into the, I don't know, drama, the controversy. I think they should have gone Katie O'Brien as Abby. I think it could have been awesome. She's from, Love Lies Bleeding, a whole bunch of other
oh,
things, but,
right, right.
she's got an awesome, even more, jacked physique than Abby in the games. I just what can I say? I think they could have really leaned into that, but the fact that they haven't and they got, Dever? Man, I'm really digging her portrayal of Abby. It adds this entire other element. Um, she still seems very dangerous, although she hasn't turned her body into a weapon. But for me, it adds this extra element where she really seems a lot like Ellie. So to me, that adds an extra kind of factor of why Joel might be willing to trust. So I really dig it. And then the performances from everybody. There's nobody in this cast that I'd want to change so far. Just I think this is one of the better times I've seen Pascal actually like dissolve into a character. To me, I'm not seeing those weird Pedro Pascalisms. While I like a lot of Bella Ramsey's other work, I haven't seen her range in anything like this. And man, this last episode it's crazy. I think watching that final performance, yeah, I think she's absolutely nailing it for me.
Right.
She went from the most remote the saddest possible, like, tragedy that someone can experience to, "I need revenge," and just this amazing arc that just oh, man, it works for me. What about you, sir? Who do
Um,
you hate in this?
I
What am I wrong about?
while I hear what you're saying,
Thank you. I feel hurt.
while, I I I'd be interested to see if they leaned into, the Love Lies Bleeding chick, that would certainly, lean heavily into the game. On the flip side, the Abby that we know so far, the show has told us that Abby's of one mind, and that's just killing Joel. With that in mind, moving forward, and we see it, she's not jacked up. So is she going to be the T1000 moving forward? Or does she feel like, all right, my my goal is complete, and I would assume maybe there's going to be some sort of element of something still deep inside that's not finished. If they go ahead with this series and have it be, you know, the strength of Abby in the game, it's going to feel weird for me now because they've given us, one track mind Abby who is just about, getting Joel, where in the game it was a bit more like she was fucking working out and doing everything she could.
Mhm.
I mean, they showed us like gym sequences in the game, which kind of explained her size. So
Mhm.
now that we don't have that, unless they've managed to shoot this in an interesting order, Abby's not someone who looks like they work out 12 hours a day. So what does that do for the story moving forward?
I think as Jacob kind of points out, whether or not Abby has been miscast remains to be seen. But if they have Abby physically overpowering Tommy like in the game, it wouldn't be believable.
Especially now,
I,
right?
I and one of the biggest complaints, and we didn't talk about it last time, was the kind of Bella Ramsey Brazilian jiu-jitsu scene where the guy is pulling his punches because he respects Joel and doesn't want Joel angry at him, so he's not just like smashing her on the ground while she's doing the moves to kind of tangle him up. Apparently that pissed off a whole bunch of the internet, and they're seeing it as like the worst fight scene ever and just completely unbelievable. So I would just have to believe, even if Abby was jacked, if she's overpowering Tommy, there would have been a contingent of the internet that's just they don't believe that. So again, this switch, it kind of takes that's not really a factor anymore. So I kind of dig what they're doing, but with Abby being different in this, I can think of ways that they would make certain encounters slightly different. Like in the game, you get slightly heavier weaponry, but
Mm,
I don't know if you necessarily need that in this. I feel like there's other ways that you could kind of even out
yeah, I
the
think
fight or make it a little bit one sided.
things like that, the weapons training and things like that, that's more, character fulfilling in a game. I think there's emotional ways it could fill out a character in the show, but like I said, I feel like if they're going to give us the video game Abby, they better show us or explain to us how suddenly she goes from
PEDs, man. It's unspoken, but come on.
Christian.
It's a revenge mission. She
Christian
doesn't need a long time. She needs that extra boost.
just a little giddy up in her veins. Christian asks, Mr. Sipo, have you played part 2? Honest question. It just seems like they're short selling both games. Yeah, you can watch me struggle through the game. I recently did it about a month or two ago. I think the order of the way things happen in the second game is where I kind of have a interesting. But I feel like
kind of like what they're forcing you to do in that second one, because like there's no way that you empathize with it. Where in this one, since they're giving you more information and kind of giving you a reasoning behind it, it gives you more of a chance to empathize with it. I think it would have turned off, and it did turn off a lot more people.
Sure.
When the game was released. So I think they're doing it in a way that makes it a little bit more palatable for the masses.
Sure.
But
as a piece of art, good art is supposed to challenge you.
There's an important message in there.
Oh, yes. All right, so we're gonna get. Gray, can you spin tires while I
Sure. But yeah, there's a lot of really interesting things that they did with this one, and cinematographically, there's got to be a word there. What they did with the cinematography is great. It just, man, for being an episode of television, for being an episode of HBO, this still seems like it's above par, or what I was expecting out of some sort of fight.
I'm telling you, it felt like Game of Thrones type shit, and that's where I feel like
the good Game of Thrones type stuff, the stuff you could see,
Thank God they have that fuck you HBO money, because I'm there for it. Sean, thank you for the euro.
Indeed.
Jacob says Deaver is gonna give a great performance. She always does. Whether or not the character comes across well is going to fall on the writers. If it ain't on the page, it ain't on the stage. I feel like so far, like her monologue was tremendous. Did I lose a Gray?
Yeah. Oh. No, sorry. I was just trying to think about it, and it's like, yeah, I think I trust them now. It feels like they really have heard the feedback, and they're kind of adjusting accordingly. But I guess I'm a sim for it. I liked the actual game, so
it's fucking awesome. It's awesome.
Hell yes.
Hold on. Copy to clipboard.
You guys might be able to hear that amazing voice, but you will see it in just one moment.
You should be able to hear code.
See its origin in just one
moment. Wait, what is it? Son of a bitch. I fucking hate. Is it?
But yeah.
What you get for using this budget ass shit.
Oh, come on, but it's got a cool name. That
it does.
It's good.
It's got more of a ring than EV Mux. I'll give it that.
Is it EV Mux or is it EV Moo? I've heard it pronounced both ways, and I
think both
don't
suck.
know.
I don't know. I'm gonna go with Mux. EV Moo sounds like pretentious.
EV sucks more. Like it.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. All right.
Joke to write itself.
I have stereo issue.
Hey.
Okay.
Looks like visuals are being fixed.
Sorry to derail you.
No, you're good. You're good. Trust me, I'm sure the audience appreciates it far more than I have issue.
It seems like there's some real super chats that came in.
Everything's happening at the exact same time. Terrific.
Good times.
Okay. Cody, can you just talk a little bit? So,
hello. The Last of Us, Season 2, Episode 2.
Okay.
I'm here.
If you're watching, is that a little funky to you? Because I have something with an echo, and if it's not...
I don't think so.
Okay.
Hayden is saying that Cody's voice casually dropping in like a 2000s trailer narrator. That is awesome.
So Hayden, $2 super chat. Thank you. Production 10, Bella 10, Deaver Pedro 10 episode, 10 out of 10. Lucifer the Doberman. What's up, man? I think I was poisoned to the show because my cheating ex loved the games and we really enjoyed the first season.
Fucking bitch. Get that. Ruined The Last of Us.
reason
I
I
don't
can't-
care that she cheated, but she ruined The Last of Us.
I get it. I can't enjoy Titanic for similar reasons.
So Cody, what did you most recently hear us say? And we
I have not heard a single word. I literally was just watching the episode for a second time with my wife
You
because she
dick.
didn't see any of it last night.
uh-huh.
And then I
Hell yeah.
tucked her in and came in here and sent you the message. So I have not heard a single word.
Okay, well, with it
So
very
start over.
and take two.
We're going to close this stream and we're going to start again with a different thumbnail.
You laugh.
Yeah.
So with it most recently in your memory,
hmm
how does it hit a second time?
I fucking love it, man. Like
Hell yeah.
I hate sounding like I'm just like a fucking simp for this show, but as somebody who loves the game, and I know there's, not all of us love the game, but I am one of the people that has since day one. I don't think there's a better version of this section of the story. I think that the things that they kept identical to the game, whether it's just like little sequences like her crawling through the fence or the little dream sequence where she's walking through the hospital hallway, was all brilliant. I think the addition of the Horde coming into Jackson was incredible. I think it totally makes up for the slower pace of last week, and it makes up, or maybe not makes up for, but is a nice thing to do given how many people were upset at the lack of infected in season 1. Wasn't an issue for me, but it was one that I heard enough that it was certainly an issue for a lot. And when you get to the actual event that we've all been waiting for, some of us dreading,
Yeah.
somehow, and I didn't even think this was possible, somehow I think the way that they did it in the show, they slightly toned down how overtly shocking it is, but they tuned up how devastating it was, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
It does.
In the game, it's
does.
much darker. It's more nightmarish. It seems almost like it's at night with how the room is dark and you have no idea who Abby is. For some people, you didn't even realize it was going to happen. It's just a gunshot goes off and you're like, whoa, what the fuck? And then you experience the rest of it through Ellie. You're walking through this house and all you hear is screams.
Yeah.
So it's much more nightmarish in the game, but in the show, the way that they tweak certain things with, Pedro's Joel being a little bit more accepting, still has that moment of Joel where he's like, shut the fuck up and just do it. And in that moment, I was like, oh God, it's going to be worse now that you just said that. But he's a little more accepting. He never pleads. He never tries to justify what he does. Like as soon as they say, go along with this or we're going to kill her, he looks at her and he's like, all right, fate has caught up with me. I deserve this. And the way that Abby has that kind of, I called it a James Bond villain moment in my review where she's kind of like laying it all out for James Bond. I thought all that was good. We didn't get that in the game, obviously, because we were withheld all that information until hours later. And the way that they did it, like for those that don't know, in the game, she just goes at him with a golf club and that's all he gets. And this, you get the golf club in the knee, then it breaks. And then she goes, just punching him, which for somebody of her size, 30, 40 punches before you start to go brain dead, maybe. So it's like the death of 1,000 cuts. And then when Bella comes in, and this is the moment too where it's like you need to just clip this out and just post it to every Bella Ramsey hater that says she's a terrible actress.
Oh.
Unbelievable, in my opinion. And then she goes and grabs the thing, and somehow just that silent like was so much worse than the golf club to me. And then they let Ellie stay conscious, which is again a change from the game, and her crawling over and embracing him while the life, I was like, fuck me. So that got me. And even before that, the moment that got me more than anything was when he tries to get up.
Yeah.
With
that
like
little
the
like
1% power that's left in his body, where she's like, Joel, get up. And he like just barely, just her being there and knowing in that moment that she wants him to live. And that's like the little bit of, daddy and daughter back together again moment gives him just enough will to lift his head half an inch.
Dude,
I was like, oh my God.
Devastating.
From that moment forward, it for as much as the game kind of cuts you off and it goes to black, the show like fucking just drowns you in the misery, and they give you like Ellie's angle of when the golf club goes into the neck, and it doesn't cut away. It just lingers there, like, hey, look, it's your favorite character with a big fucking golf club in his neck, and it's miserable and beautiful at the same time. Where it's just like, oh fuck, this is hardcore.
That's what Cody was saying. It makes it so much more devastating. They make you sit in it, and then you've got that song that plays out that I think is Ashley Johnson.
It is.
It is. It's the song that she played during the initial teaser for The Last of Us Part 2. So the initial teaser was Ellie walking into a room, grabbing a guitar and playing that song. And as she ends the song, Joel comes in. And that was the initial tease when they're saying, hey, we got a second game coming out. I forgot to mention that in my review, which pisses me off because it's such a cool moment. But yeah, that's Ashley Johnson, and that's also a Easter egg for game fans.
Yeah,
but they just make you sit with that over that whole song, and then the credits just go silent. Just man, so much more devastating.
Pulling his body behind the horses.
Dude, I said it earlier. That's what got me was the horse dragging the body in the white sack, and there was like blood stains, and I was like, ugh, why does this get me now? Like that was where I was just like, all right, done. I'm done.
Yeah.
It truly brutal.
I thought it was incredible. I really did. I thought it was one of the best episodes of TV that I've ever seen. And I'm glad if any episode of this season has to be that good, it's this one. So I'm glad that it was.
So, Cody, I'll get to the super chats in a second. Cody, I brought this up with Gray, and without spoiling a different series, I feel like this, no matter how you feel about the game, whether or not you know anything about what happens in the game, the loss of Joel in this series hits pretty hard. I compared it to a Breaking Bad late episode where we lose someone, and it's very similar. It's not the season finale, but it's
Ozymandias.
Yes. Am I out of my mind by at least making that compare? Like, I would say it's in the same ballpark, at least. Maybe not, it's in the conversation. I would say, am I crazy in assuming that?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think there's a number of TV.
Can you tell my doctor that, please?
Yeah, exactly. I was not go this far, but no. I think there's a number of TV deaths you could compare this to. I mean, like, I don't think Game of Thrones is one of them, because that was a show that was just kind of built on the shock value of anybody can die at any moment, and we will. I saw Sons of Anarchy get brought up a couple of times in the comment section. Like, this is the most devastating death since insert character. And I think that one tracks pretty well. I think this one, the different nature of this one is doing it so early on. And for those that don't know the whole package of the Last of Us Part 2 storyline, like, I know our buddy Sean is just like, why would you do this here? This should be at the end of the season. And I get that initial knee-jerk reaction, but when you know the whole story, you kind of have a little bit more information. You kind of come in at a bit of an advantage. Joel's death is not the crux of the story. It's the inciting incident.
Is Sean familiar with the second game?
No.
Oh,
he knew what was going to happen to an extent, but he does not know the story or what happens afterwards. He understands like the themes that they're going for, because they're already kind of explaining it in the little after show episode, after show segments. But no.
It'd be hard to kind of miss that controversy. Somehow my wife did, so it was really fun, like, watching it with somebody who was just completely blank to what was going on, and it seemed to work for her. It wasn't the kind of devastation that a lot of people explained with the second game.
Yeah, there's comparisons or things that are brought up that don't make sense to me for the sake of like enjoying good storytelling. Like the show is bad because a favorite character of mine is now dead, and I don't know. Like, have you not seen things where a major character has died before? Like I brought up Psycho earlier. Like, they advertise.
The chat kind of brings up Glenn. A lot of people are saying like Glenn is kind of the reason why everyone fell off Walking Dead. I'm not so sure about that, but it does look like the viewership went down way after that. But that was, like a cliffhanger ending thing. It wasn't just episode 2.
It's hard to isolate what was the issue, because there was so many with Walking Dead at the time. Like, the fact that they made it a cliffhanger infuriated a lot of people, myself included. The quality of the show was all over the fucking place. And season 7, which I'm pretty sure is the one where it opens with the Glenn kill.
Yeah.
That's one of the worst seasons of that show. Like, the opening episode is nuts, and then it's like
Mhm.
fucking 14 episodes of nothing.
I think I watched the opening episode and said, "All right, I saw what I wanted to see. Now fuck you." And I don't think I watched it again for a while.
Yeah. Make me wait 3 months, bitch. I'm not watching.
Let me catch up real quick. Hayden, $5 super chat. Thank you. By the way, I have not played the second game. I'm in Jackson in the first game, but I'm so damn pumped for this season and to play the game. Cool. Interesting experiencing the show before the game, so that should be a fun experiment. Christian, it's hard for me to hate this episode, even though I dislike the game. I still wish the first game could been a one and done. I think if you
Get it?
dislike the game, like it's even more reason to be completely in the tank for this, because if you like the show, then they're very clearly doing things differently than the second game. So, it's different. You don't get to hit pause during this shit. Well, I guess you can, but you can't make the
I wish
characters
there
move.
was I wish there was more nuanced and normal takes out there than all just the rage ones. Like, it's unfortunate the show has caught the same exact type of discussion that the game did, where it's just like, it's a masterpiece and fuck you if you don't get it. It's the worst thing ever and fuck you if you like it. And
Yeah.
that's the loudest part of it. I really am fascinated to find out if the changes in the way that they're retooling this story is going to work better for those that gave the game an honest chance and it didn't really hit for them. And I wish I could like filter out and just get those opinions. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It
it's all
seems
right.
like it's
Well,
answering a bunch of the complaints.
yeah.
So I really hope it does hit them. But I know from talking to a few of the kind of detractors of the second game, they're saying they're waiting until it's all done and then they'll binge it. So I guess they don't want to watch it weekly.
Hmm.
So
It
I think we'll
is a
find out soon.
story. It is a story that's going to be challenging to experience week by week because, like I referenced our buddy Sean. Like I almost want him. I almost wish I could get him to watch the whole season and then I could get his opinion.
Right.
We're
Right.
getting his opinion now, where he's just like, "Oh man, this they got 2 episodes to get me back," and I'm like,
Oh wow, it's like that, huh?
"You got
Shit.
7 days to stew in this. You're only gonna get madder."
Yeah.
No,
Mhm.
don't join Rudy.
It'll
Join us.
be cool if he turns a corner though. That's
It would, yeah. We'll see. We'll see. Like, if anybody I trust to give a nuanced opinion, it's Sean. But yeah, like that's the selfishness in me where I'm like, no, be one of us.
two more. I'm going to read Patrick's first. Patrick, $5 super chat. Thank you. Bella Ramsey was miscast as Eric Stoltz's Rocky Dennis playing Ellie. If you know, you know. I have no comment to that, but very funny jokes there. Master Casalis, I would love to hear Cody's thoughts on whether Ellie and Abby are miscast or not. Are there actors who you think would be a better fit?
The jury is out on Caitlin Dever as Abby because I haven't seen enough of her yet. In
Really?
2 episodes, I like what she has done. Well, this is the thing. The big thing that people are going to say about Caitlin Dever is she's not jacked. And that's
Gray
true.
brought that up earlier.
And I won't know until the later parts of the story whether that becomes an issue or not, because I think her being muscular and being a physical threat is more integral to the later part of her story
But
than it is.
we also brought that up earlier. What if they alter this series now that she isn't, the T-1000? Like, could we possibly have that altered
We
a bit?
could, but like I said, until I see the changes and how it plays out, I can't make an informed opinion on whether it was a mistake to cast somebody smaller or if they should have gotten somebody more physically imposing. Acting wise, absolutely not, because I think she's done incredible so far. I think last night she knocked it out of the fucking park. Bella Ramsey, I get a little heated when I see like the toxicity around her. Like, if you can be a normal fucking human being with some maturity and just say, "Hey, I don't really like her acting because of A, B, and C. I think she was miscast." I can be like, "Okay, fair enough. I don't get it. I think she's been incredible as Ellie. I think she
agree.
totally embodies the character. I think that she has the emotional range that you need, especially last night. So I really don't see the issues. But when I have an issue is when I get these comments where it's like, I like my Ellie without Down syndrome, or all these things that like a number of the comments where it was very clear you let this person talk long enough, and the core of the issue is, this character who's 14 years old, she's not fuckable enough for my taste, so they should have cast somebody else. And it's like, you're a weirdo. And then the other thing, which is just an annoyance that you always have with video game adaptations, is there's certain people that they view good casting or bad casting through one lens, and it's how much do they look like the video game
Mhm.
character. Nothing else matters. Doesn't matter what their chemistry is with the other cast members. It doesn't matter what their acting caliber is. It doesn't matter what the changes to the character in this visual medium is. They don't look 100% like the video game character, so it's trash.
Right.
And that fucking
Mhm.
annoys the shit out of me too. And so it really depends on where your perspective is coming from. I don't think either one of them are miscast. I certainly don't think that Bella Ramsey's miscast. I think that she's terrific. Abby, so far, Caitlin Dever, I have not had a single issue with her, but the jury is out until I see the whole season.
It kind of adds an extra element with her being cast too, since she was supposed to play Ellie in like the movie version of it, and then
Mhm.
when that fell through, she kind of aged out. But
Yeah.
man, it gives that kind of same Ellie-esque feel. So like it adds an extra element of why Joel might possibly trust her, especially in a moment of
Yeah.
you got to act right now.
Mhm.
Hayden, I $5 super chat. Thank you. I gotta go. Love you, gentlemen. Petition Happy Gilmore special next week and training montage flashback. LMAO just tap it in. Oh, that's another reference to golf. I didn't think of it as I was reading it, but another one. Thank you, Hayden. Yeah.
Yeah, Patrick seems to be a perfect example of what I'm talking about in the chat. So you need to
I
grow
hear
up.
ya. Patrick can't grow up. He's a good friend, but yeah, I guess for him it's the little things that kind of turn him off.
Well-
But man, this thing has really got me on Team Bella. Just that final performance, just man, it hits so hard.
Mhm.
But that's the thing with video game adaptations. Like if your only concern is whether or not they look like the thing, you're not really there for the experience of the show or anything. Like
Yeah,
the
go
act,
play the game.
yeah, the acting quality doesn't matter. Like the performances don't matter. You just as long as they look the same. I don't know. They're yeah, like you said, Cody. Just play the game. Like it's a different experience. Like why would you want the exact same thing? Like I don't understand that mentality, but I don't know. How did you feel about the slight changes to the Jackson, like the fact that Tommy was actually left behind in the Jackson standoff situation?
I mean, the trade-off, if the trade-off is getting that Jackson sequence so far, I'm totally up for it, but I am curious how or if it's gonna affect things later on because like not to spoil things for people, but Tommy obviously has a bit of a revenge streak himself and has a bit of a darker turn. Um, and I'm curious how that's going to affect it, if it affects it at all. You know, I think him being there and being present for his brother's murder in the game is a little bit more of an overtly shocking thing to witness. So him just kind of finding out as they wheel his body in, how is that going to affect at all some of the things that they do later on in the game, like him becoming the sniper and Dina and Ellie basically are tracking him the entire time because he's on such a revenge streak. He's 2 days ahead of them the whole time. Like, I don't know. But I love what Gabriel Luna's doing to the character. Like that scene whenever he's given like the town hall meeting and he's given the crisis situation stuff and he addresses the little girl. I love that little bit of warmth that he's brought, which makes me hope that they're really going to go with the dark side to kind of get the other side of that coin with his character later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really thought they were going to kind of give him reason. It seemed like the stakes were really high during that Jackson sequence. I
thought
was
they were going to kill his
convinced as they
wife.
changed.
I
For
s-
sure.
I
That's where I
really
was
did.
going with it. I thought Tara from True Blood is out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When she was going down, I figured she was probably going to come to his rescue for the bloater, and the bloater was going to grab her or something. And then when he just fell over, I was like, "Huh? Well, what was she doing?" And then she let the dogs out, and I was like, "Hell yeah!"
Oh, the
They
fur
start
missile.
shooting out and getting everybody. I'm like, "Fucking good boys all around."
Yeah, we kind of touched on it earlier, Cody. The fact that he's now at the city the town that's been decimated, and if things play out the way we think they are, he's going to leave the town in its shape to go seek out the people that took Joel out, and that's something of an issue that there's certainly going to be some sort of emotional tugging there if he's going to leave the town when they need him the most just to go seek vengeance, which is like I could see that happening. It's the theme of this season, certainly this far. Uh, the fact that they've tweaked tiny little things, ever so subtly, but I really think that so far it's been paying off rather well.
I do too, and I think it's a cool, rewarding experience if you've already experienced the story in the video game because there's enough changes there where it kind of puts you on edge. Like I knew obviously what was going to happen to Joel, but I didn't know how. I didn't know what changes were going to be made. I didn't know if the characters being there were going to be altered or the weapon of choice or what. And so it's like you kind of know the skeleton of what's going to happen, but you don't know how they're going to build out the whole body. And so you still kind of have that little bit of anticipation, that little bit of speculation that's fun with a show you can only experience once a week. And so, there are things that if you're watching the show for the first time, they keep so much intact about the story that they're getting a very similar experience to what you got in the game. But if you're coming to it with that extra knowledge, you also get a new experience. So I love the fact that they've mixed it very well of direct recreation, shot for shot, line for line, and then making these little tweaks.
Right. Um, as far as the tweaks with the Joel and Dina experience, do you appreciate that equally, or is I don't
Like
know.
her being there instead of Tommy.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that I had any questions about why she was on this revenge streak with Ellie in the game, but I think this version gives her a little bit more of a motivation, if anything, because she was right there with him. And she saw all the people, she was there. And so now when you're gonna have Ellie and Dina on the trip, they both kind of have their own reasons to be there.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. More of the same. My chat is not loading. Oh wait. All right. So it is, but it isn't. Master Casalius, thank you. Have you ever played a game with a better narrative than Last of Us 2? Last of Us 1?
The Last of Us 1 and 2 are pretty damn close, but I'll always prefer the first one just ever so slightly. But either The Last of Us in general is the best stories I've ever experienced in a game, in my opinion. There's
Yeah.
a lot of great
Feels like
ones
it
that
has the
are, like,
most
in my
wins.
top 5, but those 2 are the ones that I've had the most, like, emotional response to.
That's another reason where, considering how strong the games are, uh, the fact that they've matched it, if not for the sake of the different medium, maybe improved on it. Like I think there's quite a bit to be said for that. Like for as much as people complain about episode 3 from season 1 for the stupidest fucking reasons, um, I don't know of a better adaptation of a video game, and I don't think it's remotely close, to be fair.
Yeah.
And so far, like, what are your issues with season 2 so far that, like, make any sense other than Joel dead early? I don't like it. Like, okay, but, that's supposed to
Yeah.
be that way.
I think there was some fair criticisms of the first episode being a little bit of a slower burn, and mostly just because we had to wait 2 years for it. If it was back in the day when you had like a 3-month break and then you had 22 episodes, I don't think people would have cared as much. It's not like we've never seen a Calm Before the Storm episode. So
Yeah.
I understood that a little bit. I didn't have this response, but I've seen a number of people say that Ellie's been more kind of insufferable this season because she's so overtly like bratty. And I
She
don't
is,
know
but
how
she's
much of
like
that
19 now. Like
that
I
was
was
my
an asshole when I was
justification in my
19.
review. They're like, she still acts like she's 14. I'm like, what 19-year-old do you know that doesn't do that?
Right.
I have a
Yeah, I
17-year-old and
knew
a
everything
14-year-old.
then.
There's not much discernment between how they act. But anyway, that aside, I think maybe just because I know the reason why she's at odds with Joel, it
Mm.
doesn't bother me as much possibly. And maybe when we get into that in the show, that'll go away for some people. So there were some things in episode 1 where I was like, it's not an issue for me, but I understand when you see this, after 2 years of waiting, you've not experienced the video game. I understand having some concerns. But paired with this second episode, aside from just being really concerned about like, well, where do we go now? How do you follow this up story wise? Aside from that concern, yeah, I don't understand
I
if there's any significant issues with the show. Like I did with season 1. I thought season 1 was like literally a masterpiece,
yeah,
and I never throw that word around. And season 2 so far is heading down that same road.
I think if anything, the way that Ellie's character is a little insufferable plays into what we're going to experience with her character. Like we see her being arrogant when they go to
Yeah.
the supermarket, and like she's going to learn the hard way that you know you aren't invincible and things don't always go as you plan them to be.
And I think a part of that too is like I want to be careful with what I say. This is a spoiler stream, right? Like
Yes,
we're
yes.
talking about the game and everything.
Hmm.
Okay, so the important thing to keep in mind about Ellie's mindset now is that this is 5 year or well, this is a couple of years or maybe less than a year. I don't remember when in the timeline she finds out, but this is Ellie post having the realization that her immunity is basically useless and she has no significance in this world and everybody's fucking doomed. And so, like, the recklessness tends to come from that, in my understanding.
Hmm.
It's like, well, but I can't fucking turn, and I'm not ever going to amount to anything because the world is just fucked. So who cares? Let's go have fun inside of this haunted building. And
Hmm.
so I think I understand the character more just because I've seen the game than people just watching the show so far, understandably.
Yeah.
And so the things that are character flaws when you're watching it for the first time, for me, I see the justification for it and the reason for it. And so it doesn't bug me because I know why it's there.
I just think being
Aside from just
19
yeah,
like gives you a certain amount of that. Like
yeah,
I didn't have the
invincibility.
invulnerability, but I felt like I did. I
Oh
don't
yeah.
know. I just nothing could happen to me, and
Mhm.
I don't know. I kind of see that as a 19-year-old, so I want to give her some credit. And then same thing with Abby. Like she's what, like 5 years older, and it's been like 5 years, so she started this thing at the same time as
Mhm.
Ellie, essentially.
Well,
Like it's two 19-year-olds.
plus, even from the perspective of Abby, like everyone in her group, they're over it. They're like, yeah, we didn't sign up for this. Can we just go home?
Mhm.
And I don't know. Knowing what we know about what happens in the game, knowing that Ellie's going to get knocked on her ass at least once more, it really helps fill out that story. I would say, which I it's not Harrison from Dexter. Like he was obnoxious in New
Yes.
Blood. I don't think it's the same. I
I
think
don't at all either.
narratively it's a bit more for purpose.
Mhm.
Master
The
Kiss.
big issue with Harrison was the hypocrisy because it's like every episode, save for the last, save for the episode before the finale, it was just like, fuck you, dad. You don't understand anything. Like, I'm perfect. Leave me alone. Why are you getting on my shit? And it's like, because you're a psycho and you literally tried to kill a kid and you got fucked up shit inside of your little diary here. Like, there's all these reasons why. And as a parent, I can tell you that's a reality where it's just like, you're invading my privacy. It's like, fuck your privacy. You have all this shit that gives me reason to be in here. So yeah, there is a massive difference. And I do think, like, again, it's tricky with Joel because Joel's our protagonist. And so naturally, if you like the character, many of us love the character, you try to look past all the flaws. You try to justify that he's right in any scenario. But when you really think about it, it's like, he made the decision for her. He completely wiped out, presumably, any possibility that her immunity could mean anything and she could actually have a purpose in this world. He took that choice away from her for his own selfish reasons, understandable reasons, especially as a father, but for his own reasons nonetheless. And so you think about a character that would spend a number of years with somebody as the most trusted human being that they've ever had in their life, and then they get this ultimate betrayal revelation. You would be very callous to that person for a while. And
we
it just go ahead.
we talked about it earlier that there was comparisons made Abby to Joel, that Abby was something of a cruel character. But I would feel like there's a lack of understanding that she's seeking revenge, and I don't know if there's a cruel element to it. I mean, we just experienced in the first week that Catherine O'Hara's character, she has a bit of a gripe with a warranted one, a gripe with Joel, and there's dozens of others that could have that very same storyline. Do you think that Abby's character is something of a villain for the season so far?
I mean, so far, yes, but
Mhm.
the whole theme of the second game and what's gonna be the second and third season is that heroes and villains only exist based on where you're standing.
Right.
And,
Yeah, I
like,
think
you look at anybody's perspective inside that hospital in Salt Lake City, and Joel's a fucking psycho
Michael
monster.
Myers, yeah.
Yes, exactly, like the fucking Terminator.
Mhm.
And so and that's the thing that I always thought was so brilliant and profound about the game that rubbed a lot of other people the wrong way, where it's really focusing on perspective and understood walking in somebody else's shoes. Joel is somebody that in the first game and the first season certainly hinted at numerous times that he had to do a lot of evil and barbaric things to stay alive for 20 years in this world. And they reiterate it again in the game in the second one, which I'm sure they'll get to whenever they find the bodies that Tommy tortures for information.
Huh.
And they're like, oh, yeah, him and Joel used to do this shit all the time. And so you have all these details that you don't necessarily see that leads you to the conclusion that Joel's a really fucking evil dude when he needs to be. Ellie just kind of gave him his humanity back. So he gets redeemed, but that doesn't erase all the shit that he did.
Right.
And the game forces you to go along that journey with Abby, where she's done something seemingly irredeemable, and now they put you in this path of somebody who kind of takes the Joel role with the Seraphite character that she finds later on, where this character kind of gives her her humanity and her purpose back, and now she's using all her powers for good, and kind of turning away from the person that she was. And the game basically asks you to, that same path of forgiveness that you went on with Joel, are you willing to go on it for this character? And if not, why?
Right.
and
And
it does it in that unique way of you don't get any of the information up front, so you just kinda have to
Yes.
experience it,
And that's
which
my main concern for the season so far is with them front loading the information, if that's going to kind of nerf the effect later on.
I think so Druckmann said that he was going for something a little bit different. He wants to show you kinda more of a gray character, but,
Mhm.
I think that's one of the reasons why you can be a little bit more empathetic. You can kinda see it from her point of view, and that they gave the POV way earlier, and
Mhm.
I guess her villain speech, but I don't think she's supposed to be a straight up villain in this one. You're supposed to kinda understand it, and I think Joel's performance kinda adds to that too, where he kind of is resigned to accepting it.
I ha this is, I guess, the moment that I would agree with people who have a major gripe with the way things played out in the game. Joel, when we first experienced him in season 1, dude's just a construction worker who experiences some heavy shit with his daughter and then becomes something of the person he is.
Mhm.
Abby is just the daughter of a doctor in the beginning of the season, but we don't really have the full season of Last of Us 1 to get Abby's character. So for now, she's a villain, but I'm wondering if they're going to be able to swing it the way that they they would want the audience to feel. Do you think this series or this second season slash third season is a success if they don't get you to root for the Abby character?
No.
Yeah, I
I
think
mean,
they
maybe
already
not maybe
have got me.
root yeah, maybe not root for her, but I think if they can at least get you to understand her,
Mhm.
I think that's the baseline. If you root for her, they've really succeeded. But I think if you fail to get most people at least to understand and empathize with her side of it, then you've failed.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's way better put than I was gonna say, but yeah, I think I agree with you. It's not really, join her, but kind of empathize, just understand.
I feel like a show can be good and not good as far as what you want is concerned. I think if something can do something that you don't want but still hits pretty hard, I think that's effective, and I almost give a bit extra credit to a show that can do that because they're not trying to score free brownie points, and if they can get you to like feel something more than fuck this, I think that's a really big deal, and
Mhm.
And I'm not comparing it to those, but Jacob kinda does bring it up, like Breaking Bad, Sopranos, Barry, kinda selling you on the idea of a protagonist that's kind of a bad person. I could definitely see that. They've kind of let you in that she's got reason for having this revenge mission. It makes sense to her, and then it's very mirrored with what you're going to go on with Ellie. So I don't know. I think it totally works, and I think it gives you a couple different points of view on it. But we'll see. I hope they live up to those and
What
make you
I,
empathize with the
I
character.
I think a lot of it's going to come down to how likable they can make Abby, because that's the one
Hmm.
struggle that they had in the game, was that it took a long time to make her likable, and some people didn't have, for understandable reasons, because the game is hours and hours and
Mm,
hours of asking, could never just get there with her. Like, I kind of liken what they need to do with her is kind of like what they did with Gus Fring in season
mm,
4 of Breaking Bad, where you got this guy who's the villain in all of season, or most of season 3, all of season 4, but the more details you get about him, his backstory, his rivalry with the cartel, him having that likable relationship with Jesse, by the time you get to that finale, like, it's kind of like 2 technically bad guys, and you're like, "Of course I'm rooting for Walt, but, like, I don't necessarily want Gus to die." At least I felt that way.
For
And so I
sure.
think it's a similar kind of mission of that, and it's a hard one.
yeah. I don't think this is one of those instances where you can have a character that you like hating, because I don't know if this is the type of storyline that you'd have someone, an antagonist that is someone that you like rooting against. I don't think it's like apples and oranges, I would say, because this is more, driving for empathy than anything, and
Yeah.
I don't know. They have their work cut out for them, but so far so good as far as I'm concerned. I I don't know. I've been on board. Um, Master Castelia says, "I was totally against Abby at the beginning of the game, and by the end, I was very torn." There are 2 moments that I feel like the game puts you through something that, ha as someone who's controlling the characters, you don't wanna do in the beginning, and at the end, it's the same thing, but, like, just in a mirror where it's just like, "Yeah, I don't wanna do this." Like, yeah, this is, the flip of the thing that I didn't want to do, but I also don't want to do this too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I don't know if they can get those emotions in something where you're not controlling things, it would be kind of impressive.
My main concern is where and how they're gonna split this story into 2 and make you have a
Yeah.
wait, especially if it's gonna be another 2-year wait, which I hope not. But, like, the only, if we're not getting the Joel kill as the cliffhanger for the season, presumably the only place to leave it is where the story perspective changes in the game, where they meet up at the theater and Abby's tracked them.
Mhm.
And then the season just concludes. It's like, holy fuck, what's gonna happen? And my concern is that they're not gonna have enough time in season 2 to start to win people over on Abby, to have them invest in season 3, especially if there's a long wait. Like, you only have 5 more episodes. We already know one of them is gonna be a bottle episode. It's not even tied to the main story, which I assume is gonna be the Joey Pants episode. And so
It
really
has to
4
be.
episodes, 4 episodes to cover Ellie's revenge streak and also cover the character of Abby, and all of the stuff that really makes you start to change your perspective on Abby if it's successful is all in the later half of her story with the Seraphites and everything. And I don't think they're going to be able to do anything but maybe just start to dabble in that. So that's my main concern, honestly, is that we're getting a 7-episode season, and then they've greenlit season 3 already, but how long is it gonna take to get season 3? And are they gonna leave it in a point where
Sure.
people are salivating to come back, or are they gonna leave it in a point where they're like, "Dude, fuck this show."
Yeah, there's got to be some sort of cliffhanger. I
Yeah.
just I wonder if they are going to separate it into kind of 2 halves like that, because if so, that would make an odd season 3 where you're like switching POVs. The way they've already kind of switched it and you're getting more of her backstory, I'm wondering if they're not going to weave it together a little bit more, and then you still get that meeting, and that's going to be where they kind of
They've done it in
Mhm.
TV series before where you've split perspectives within, like, episodes, so I think, especially when things happen at the same time, they could, go back and forth. Um, the thing you brought up about Joey Pants, who's Eugene, as far as we know, um, do you think having that episode play after Joel's death can add something else to Joel's storyline?
Yes, because with the little bit of information that we've gotten so far on the Eugene character from Kathleen O'Hara and then from the Jesse character in this episode, my wheels have been turning on what exactly is going to play out between Joel and him. Like the easy assumption to make is that he gets bit and Joel was forced to kill him, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think it's going to be something either he discovers that Ellie is bitten and he has to put him down, or the more likely thing to me is that because they took the time to show her find the pen that he's like,
Okay.
he was a firefly. I didn't know he's a firefly. Is that eventually there's going to be some, or like it'll be a flashback episode, and at some point Eugene's going to realize that Joel is the guy that killed everybody at Salt Lake, and then
Bella
added with that
also had
information.
a knowing look when she was talking to Jesse, and he kind of
Yes,
brought
yes,
something up. So
yeah. He's
it
like, oh,
seems
it was
like there's
tragic,
more.
and she's like, yeah. Yeah, so that added and with that revelation of Joel's that guy, also is the revelation of the girl that's with him is the one. And so then he has to put him down to keep the secret and then just tells everybody he was bit. And that yet again will give you more reinforcement of like, yeah, I know we know we love Joel, but he just did that.
Yeah, and
Is
I
that would.
think they had sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that would definitely put Ellie more on the case of like what happened in Salt Lake, because we don't know exactly how much she knows at this point, but
Mhm.
obviously she knows something that their whole fight happened. But yeah, adding this Eugene thing in there instead of making him some guy who lived out his life till old age, I think this could really add some elements to that and kind of flesh out that relationship between them and what exactly happened.
do you
So
think there's a
I'm
way?
looking forward to it.
Oh, of course. Do you think there's a way that they can, I don't know, turn some people that are just so pro, not my Joel, how dare you? Is there a way that, like, just for the sake of argument, they have it play out that Joel kills Eugene, and it's something like Joel's lying to everyone, and it's, something of a frivolous kill. Do you think people can maybe understand that, like, okay, Joel isn't the greatest person in the world, and now they've shown me extra evidence of that?
I think it just depends on one, how stubborn the viewer is, and then two, how they execute it. Like I think if I was to make an assumption, I would say that the next episode is probably going to be our like eulogy episode,
Yeah,
where you're going to get Ellie looking at all of his property in his house, like she does in the game, his watch, his jacket, and she's going to have the flashbacks in the game, like going to see the dinosaur
right.
museum, and then going to the spaceship, and you'll also get that
Possibly what
pic.
happened the night before, because
Yeah,
the guitar is in its stand in her house, and it has its new strings on it. So it seems like there was more that happened that actual night.
well, yeah, that scene that ends the game still has yet to come, and I don't know if they're gonna give that away in the next episode or they're gonna save that for, like, the season end or whatever, but yes, that's gonna be an important scene, and presumably it did happen because we got that line of dialogue from her with Jesse where she was already starting to kind of mend fences, where she's like, "I'm just gonna go do my daddy-daughter day with Joel." But if I was to make the assumption they're gonna have a flashback episode that's gonna be your bottle episode, and you're gonna have a chunk of it dedicated to how wonderful of a father figure Joel was, and look what he did for Ellie, also paired with a memory that Ellie has of him being this cold-blooded killer to kind of reinforce both sides of the character.
Yeah.
Whether or not that's gonna be enough for people to sway on the Joel can do no wrong thing, I don't know, but I think that would be a really brilliant way to do it.
I feel like that, like, there's something of a fine line. I feel like if you're in the camp of, if you're this far in and you still hate what's happening, I don't know if you're gonna get converted, and I don't know if you know what's happening in the game and you're still, gung ho. I don't know how they'd lose someone like me or you, Cody. Or I guess the better question is, Sean, how do you win or lose him? Or Gray, your wife, how do they win or lose her? Like, who are the people
Yeah,
that are
I think
left? Go ahead, Gray. I'm sorry.
I think one thing, if they did kind of that flashback one next, I think that could work to kind of take some of the impact away of the Joel thing. I think hopefully they're gonna do the kind of flashback memory episode of him, because man, that's just such a big impact to just like be like, okay, we'll talk about that later. I don't know. I think that could definitely turn off a bunch of people. I know my life was just dying to find out what's gonna happen next.
Hmm.
After that kind of the song playing and the body dragging behind, it's like, okay, we got to know what's happening there.
Yeah, but can't there, like, for people who don't know what's happening, can't there be this, like, John Wick energy for people that maybe don't have any investment in the game and are just, like, normies that are watching this show and like, "Oh, shit's on now." Isn't there, like, at least the opportunity or chance that they can be, like, ironically rooting for Ellie's vengeance? Good point. Thanks.
I think so. I know with the information they've given, I know my wife is definitely empathetic to the character. Like, she understands where she's coming from, even if she doesn't agree with her.
Mm.
But I don't know. I think there's a lot that can kind of. I think there's a lot that could be added to this if they do kind of flesh out what happens next, as opposed to kind of going flashback. I just think that would simmer too much for like an entire week if they're going Joey Pants.
Luke brings up, surely they'd save the porch scene with Joel and Ellie until the very end of the show. Hopefully they've already filmed it. I don't know if they can keep that in their back pocket for the entire run.
I don't know. I mean,
they've already changed some things towards the end that they've already given us, like a lot of, Abby's motivations. So I don't know what they're doing with it. It seems like it's a different order completely.
The tricky part is it being split into 2 seasons. Like, if this was all playing out over an extended season, I would say for sure, because it's the ending of the game and it hits hardest as the final note.
Yeah.
But if they're saving it for the end of the story in this fashion, that means we're not going to see it for another 2 years. And are people going to, when they see her walk, like I guess walk past him when he's on the porch, and then it cuts in the first episode, and then we see her come back and have the conversation with him. Are enough people going to go, oh, that's that scene from the first episode of season 2?
Right.
Or are they going to give it to us earlier? They might give it to us earlier to try to add more tragedy to the fact that, like, oh, they were just about to make up. I don't know. I'm enjoying the changes so far, but there are certain ones that I do think would. You were asking earlier about what could they do to lose me. I don't know if they have it in them to tank a show that they've done so wonderfully to a point that they lose me. I think that the most probable way
we are
to
Dexter
have
fans.
Point well taken. But yeah, I think at most what they could do is they'll make changes that I think the version of the game was significantly better.
Yeah.
And the Abby thing is the one currently that's hanging up in the air that has the most potential for that so far, where we get to the end and I'm like, this packed a lot better punch in the game when you had to wait 7 hours to find this information.
With that said, interesting monkey wrench that JT brings up. Do you think Catherine O'Hara's character contacted Abby if Eugene figured out Joel was the guy who killed the Fireflies? It's an interesting proposal.
I don't think so. Based on their conversation, it seemed like she had accepted it, but she hates it. So I don't think she suspects it, but maybe. If so, that totally adds like an entire element that I didn't anticipate. I wouldn't think they're going that route, but they certainly could be.
Am I remembering things wrong, or did at the end of episode 1 in the like next time on Last of Us segment, did they show another scene between Catherine O'Hara and
They showed her.
Okay, and she wasn't in this episode. So I was curious
was
if they did that to kind of like throw the audience off the same way that they put Joel in scenes he was not in the video game trailer, or if they're teasing she's going to be later on in the season. But yeah, I don't know.
Assuming it's flashback and talking to Ellie, but I could be wrong there.
It'd be what?
Maybe.
Just for the sake of seeing Catherine O'Hara as something of a villain, I kind of want to see that, but it'd be interesting. It's certainly.
I don't see any logical way why Catherine O'Hara would even know who Abby is or that Abby exists, or how to contact somebody in Seattle. Like, it doesn't seem like their technology even reaches that far. Like, I like the idea of her doing something nefarious, but I don't think that that specific idea is plausible.
For sure. She didn't even seem to know about Eugene's grow up. So I don't think she was that in the know, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Do you think they'll end the season with Abby and Ellie in the theater?
Well, that's what I
Sounds like
was.
that's where both of you guys are going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Charles hinted at it a little bit more subtly, but he kept referencing popcorn behind him and pointing at the thing. That seems like a logical way to do kind of a cliffhanger. I'm trying to think anywhere else in the game that there would be a cliffhanger like that. But
Yeah, that's what my thinking was, is like the only two places that make sense is either we're gonna draw out the Joel death until episode 7, which obviously is not gonna happen, or
Mhm.
that point. I can't think of any others, honestly. But even that, like it feels like there's so much story between now and that moment.
Yeah.
It's like we're gonna get through that in 4 episodes,
I don't
really?
I don't think we're getting Lev this season. Like, I don't know how
It's
they do that.
I wouldn't
not
think
really
so
4
either, but
episodes.
yeah, I wouldn't think so either, but that has to happen unless we're gonna spend a significant amount of time in season 3 in flashback mode with Abby. That has to happen canonically in the timeline before she goes back to the theater, because she's already done a lot with Lev before she finds the thing that she finds that makes her, go to that theater.
Oh. Oh, right. Right. I I don't envy them for only knowing what we know as far as the 2 episodes that have played out, plus the, like, extra shit that they've thrown in. I can't imagine the roadmap, especially if they didn't know that they were shooting a 3rd season. Like, that's
I think they would have to know, but I mean, if we have like a memorial episode and we've got a flashback one, that gives us 3 episodes in this season to get there. Like that really doesn't seem like nearly
I think the
enough. But
flashback and memorial thing will be one
think
episode.
so?
I think
I
it,
was
it
just thinking they were gonna go big like Bill's episode last year, but or in season 1, I should say. 3 years
Yeah,
ago.
I don't know if it'll be such a bottle episode where it's characters that have nothing to do with the main storyline. I think it'll be a mix where you'll have
Mhm.
Abby, or excuse me, you'll have Ellie going through Joel's house like she does in the game after he dies, and she's looking at all his property. I think like when she looks at certain things, she'll probably flashback, and then she'll look at something else and flashback. So we'll get the flashback segments, and then probably the Eugene storyline in the same episode. Because like you, if we're doing 2 of those, then I'm eternally more concerned of like,
I
holy
have no
shit, you
clue how
got.
you'd get there.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
don't think I don't think you can distract away from the main storyline for 2 weeks either.
Well, then they've kind of bolstered up this whole Jackson storyline. I'm sure we're gonna at some point go back to there and need more building up there. So I don't
Mhm.
know. It just I'm not sure exactly where they're going with this season and where the stop would be. But
And I kinda like that.
right.
Kinda
yeah,
like the fact like season 1 was pretty shot for shot. I always knew it was next, and I loved it all the way through, but I kinda like the fact that this one, I'm, like, on pins and needles of, like, "What are we doing? What's next?"
Dude, like we brought it up a couple of times now. In Jackson, when Tommy's there and they're on the rooftops, like you said, the first moment you're like, one of them might die, and then when Tommy's down with the bloater, it's like, uh,
well, and
are
they
they
don't
doing
have
this
him on the mission, so it's
right?
okay. I mean, I guess Ellie knows how to shoot the rifle now. I guess she could do snipe. But yeah, it kind of made me. I wasn't sure how they were going to play that out. I assumed it would have been the wife, but interesting choices.
So, uh, if someone just doesn't have any sort of knowledge of the game and somehow caught up with the first season all in one swift go and has now watched 2 episodes and they're kind of on the line, is there a way that you can let them down, like not them bailing out in the show, like say someone watched episode 2 and was like, oh, this is going to fulfill my Game of Thrones hole in my chest. Great, I'm going to see a show with a whole bunch of action set pieces and whatever. Or on the flip side, someone who's looking for, I don't know, I don't know, what is more a potential to disappoint someone? Is it the action, or is it the drama, or like the tension? Because I feel
I
like
would
they've set quite a bit up in only 2 episodes. That if they keep this pace, it'd be impressive. But
I would assume it would be the story. Like, the action was great, but that I don't think that's the heart
it's got to
of
settle in
the
at some point,
story in
right?
the game.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice in season 1 that they toned down a lot of the infected stuff. Like, obviously, without gameplay segments, you're gonna have a lot less infected, and the story's gonna suffer if you're just taking a pause every 20 minutes to have them go fight a clicker. But yeah, I think it's just going to be the story at this point. Because if you're somebody that's not fully on board or already a fan of The Last of Us Part Two, um, you know, they're sitting right now on pins and needles, going, okay, the perceived lead of the show is now gone. And now you're asking me to follow these characters that I don't know hardly anything about, and I've already been designed to hate all of them. What do you have in store for me? Because I don't know if I have 5 more episodes of patience left. Is it gonna be 1 episode, 2 episodes? But I think there's a lot of people who are like, "Okay, I need to know what we're doing," because this
Mhm.
is such a harsh turn that seems so, deliberately against the grain and against the rules that, props to having the balls to go there, but what are we doing now? And I think that's a valid concern. When we were playing a game, you can just keep playing and figure that answer out. Now you have to wait for 7 days to get the next answer, and then 7 days to get the next answer. And so it's an interesting story to tell week to week.
Hmm.
There's a part of me that loves the fact, like the masochistic side, that I have to sit and wait for 7 days, look at everybody else and be
Yeah,
like, "Ooh, it's gonna happen," and discuss it every single, Sunday and Monday. And then there's a part of me that wishes I could just watch the whole fucking thing and get all the answers now.
for sure. I totally agree with Cody's answer on that. I think the action's probably going to be what suffers, but I mean, like, this isn't supposed to be action. It's known for the story, but
Sure, we know that, but like if someone just drops in
yeah.
and is like, "Wow, awesome."
Well, so I get that people were complaining about episode 1, but man, the tension was there. There's so
Mhm.
many different scenes, and every scene had a different tension. So granted, it is kind of the one action scene, but with the actual stalker, man, that was just so full of tension in
Mm.
the horror movie way for me. But then they get like this psychological one where Catherine O'Hara and Joel are in that conversation. Just man, that is such a tense scene, and the way that it kind of unfolds. For me, I think they've got the tension and the story down. I kind of trust where he's going in this one.
Do you
I'm really looking forward to it. I
And
don't
there's
think that'll be the letdown. I think it's going to be the action.
and there's plenty of opportunity for big action set pieces later on in the story. I don't know how many they're gonna fit
Mhm.
into this season. Like, obviously, we've seen the scene in the hospital where Ellie's chasing somebody. That's a pretty exhilarating sequence in the game. But, like, you have everything going on with the WLF versus the Seraphites. You have a certain evolution of the infected.
too?
You have multiple fight scenes and big chase sequences in jeeps and everything. And so there's a lot of opportunities if they're faithful to fill that action void. I just still don't think that stuff is going to be the point. It's like the very nice seasoning on top.
Dude, I hope they have the budget for a fire at night on an island scene because that was fucking
Yes.
incredible.
Hmm.
Do you think the tendrils that were in the pipe, because they served a purpose as far as the story is concerned, do you think they're done? That whole, because they had it for a little bit in season one, and they had it again here, and the fact that they crack open the pipe, that kind of leads to why they split and go after Jackson. Do you think that that's going to be a thing anymore? Because it kind of died off this point in season one too.
I mean, it might come back up, but I don't think it's going to be the recurring thing. They've already shown a scene in the teaser that they're going to introduce spores this season, so that's the other new piece of
Oh,
it that
they
they
are.
have to. Yeah, they showed
Wow.
it was a shot of something in the wall and it was breathing out.
Huh.
And you got to
Uh,
you have to get that scene somehow uh with Ellie and Dina in
yeah.
the subway. And so yeah, they're going to introduce that, which brings a whole other thing. I don't know how widespread that's going to be in the season, but
I just
you know,
assumed they were skipping that whole thing since we hadn't gotten any of that.
I
I
did
just thought they'd
too.
changed the transmission thing, but that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do that scene with tendrils or whatever.
Yeah.
Uh,
But
Resident,
I think they know that it's in the pipe, so I'm assuming we're gonna get something of they're clearing out the pipes or something like that. But I think the big thing has been done.
I,
It sent the horde towards them.
I think I'm at something at a disadvantage because knowing where the game is, knowing how much we need to get to, there's a part of me that's like, wait, now that Jackson's kind of done and the pipes are a thing, are we going to talk about this at all? Because like this is kind of interesting too. I have so much dinner in front of me, but I also want to eat the bread. Master Casalis asks, Resident Evil 4 or Last of Us 2?
Ooh, that's a tough question.
Resident Evil 4 for me. Resident Evil 4 is my second favorite video game of all time. I would probably pick Resident Evil 4 even over The Last of Us. It's very close.
Oh,
But
wow.
my top 3 of all time is Metal Gear Solid, Resident Evil 4, and The Last of Us. And, they're close enough where they might as well all be tied, but, Resident Evil 4 is the video game that I have beaten the most times in my life. Every time they do a new version of it, I'm like, "Okay, I'll play it again."
Grady?
Yeah, the fact that I've actually played Resident Evil 4. So I've watched both Charles's playthrough of
You poor
The
thing.
Last of Us 2, and then when the controversy actually went off, like what was that, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I actually watched a playthrough of it as well, where it was just basically every bit of information in it. So I don't know. The fact that it hasn't sucked me in, I think I'd have to go Resident Evil, and even some of the lesser ones, like I don't know. I loved Resident Evil 3 too, but
Yeah.
it's nowhere compared to like The Last of Us story.
I
It's like I
If I
said
can a
before.
if I can ask, what was the reason you didn't just play the game?
I was at this point where I thought I was like addicted to games, so I wasn't going to actually
Mm.
play them.
Oh.
I don't need a system right now. So at that point, I didn't have any system that could play it, but still the controversy was popping off. So I wanted to know what it was. And
Gotcha.
Huh.
since then, I feel like I'm under control now, but still never went back because it's like, well, I know what's happening there. So it
Mhm.
does suck. I didn't have the same experience that I had with the first one, which, you can't, nothing compares to that experience.
Yeah. I haven't played Resident Evil 4. I have not played the re-release that was recently came out. So I don't have that same attachment, and my memory's dog shit. So I don't remember it hitting me as hard. When I think of Resident Evil, 7 sticks out to me. 1 is like
7.
I like 7 because I remember playing 5, I remember playing 6, and they were not good. And 7 was like, oh, yes, finally, horror. But like Resident Evil OG, when they remastered it, like that's top grade for me. So I don't have that same emotion to Resident Evil. Resident Evil isn't an action game to me. Resident Evil is a horror game, a survival horror, where Resident Evil 4 is more of
Puzzle.
sure, but it was more actiony in part 4. So without renewing my memory to it, it's kind of easy for me to say Last of Us because as much as that second game kicked my ass, I'm like ready for more if they have it.
Mhm.
Joey asks, have you played the MetaQuest VR version of Resident Evil 4? It's absolutely incredible.
I didn't finish it, but yes. It was very cool. It was the reason I bought a MetaQuest, so I've gotten 0 use out of it.
And Rudy says, I hope we're not talking spoilers here. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, you're safe.
I mean, we're discussing well, okay. Yeah. Then don't stick around, Rudy. We love you, but get the fuck out.
This is his
I
second
don't
go
wanna-
around with that trick. He did it earlier. A cool element this show add is infected animals. I would love to see an infected grizzly. Oh, it went away.
Yeah.
I
Apparently it was retracted. Yeah, I mean that could be cool. I feel like we have seen that with Resident Evil, like especially the dogs, the crows, or whatever. This was doing its own thing. It just crossed the human barrier.
I guess that's where I feel like this show can kind of fall for me is because it seems like as
But
much
then
as
they sent those dogs to their death. You can't think of it that way. Come on, they're good boys.
I feel like if they do keep adding things, it feels like to some degree, only because we know how much there is left, they're biting off more than they can chew, where it's just like, all right, good job adding all these little intricate things and kind of like amending some issues that people have had with the game. At this point, I feel like if they're not like at least somewhat pleased, forget it. Just be a TV show that is impressing the people that are impressed. There's a lot to cover. I would feel I wouldn't want to work on this as far as the creative side is concerned because there's a lot to still cover and I don't know how much you add unless they're going to take the second game and stretch it into 3 seasons, which I can't imagine that either. So they keep adding these little things, but when is enough enough, or when is enough
I'm
too much?
also I'm wondering if the 3rd season is gonna be 7 episodes as well, or that's gonna be, what was it, 10 episodes? What was the 1st season? Was it 10?
9.
9?
Hmm.
Yeah. So I'm curious if the 3rd season will be more like the length of the 1st one, because there is much more to cover in that back half of
Yep.
the story
I
than the
think with
first half. I see more room to condense things, because the first half had a lot of exploration. You think about that whole
Mhm.
segment in Seattle where you go to all the different buildings. Really, all they have to cover that's crucial in Seattle is the "Take on Me" cover, and then we can move on. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of room to tighten things up in the first part of the story, whereas the second half there's so much going on, especially integral to the Abby character, that I feel like they're gonna need a more full-size season, so I am
Yeah.
curious on that.
There's moments where, like, this could be the mid-season, you know, big moment. There's a couple of moments where you can kinda chop seasons in halves, because there are a couple of heavy duty moments in that game. So
Mhm.
And
I don't
with
know.
this being Max, they could do longer episodes too. I don't think they're like as stuck to being.
Mhm.
I know with a lot of their other shows, they allowed like finales and stuff to go a lot longer. So
I felt like the
maybe
premiere of season 1 was like an hour and a half. Maybe I'm
I
remembering
think
wrong.
so.
Do you think do you think they maybe planned on this being a 2-hour, episodes 1 and 2 possibly being a 2-hour first episode? Because I
I
I
had
don't know.
toyed with that. I don't know. I don't think they wanted to open the season with him biting it. I
Yeah,
do think the 2 episodes work very much in unison with each other,
I
as like the
agree.
calm before the storm and then the actual storm. But I
Hmm.
thought about that whenever I was reviewing it last night. I'm like, I wonder if they toyed with doing at least a 2 episode premiere or something like that. But yeah, I feel like they deliberately went against that. That also, and they would only have, 5 weeks left of the show being on air after the premiere then.
Yeah, this is all strike based, right? This is the reason why it's 7 episodes. It's due to the strike, and I would hope nothing else.
I thought it was just an actual creative decision. I didn't hear anything about it being a strike thing.
That's
I think
wild.
it's yeah, I mean, I didn't do any research whatsoever. I'm gonna kinda look it up now, to be honest with you. But I thought it was just like they split this. They found a place in the story to split it. They needed 7 episodes to tell this, and then I guess we'll find out what they need to tell the next part. I just hope we don't have to wait 2 years for it. I hope it's like a year turnaround, but
I
I
agree
also
with
know
you.
that there's, massive production demands to really deliver on that last part.
Better.
And yeah, it depends how big they're gonna make it. Because with them like expanding like this Jackson part, I don't know. I feel like they can make some of those a lot bigger
Mhm.
scenes, but we'll see.
Jonathan asks, "Will we see Joel and Ellie fight the bloater from part 2 flashback?"
I don't know, maybe.
I hope
I don't
so.
know I don't know how many of the flashbacks we're gonna get as the thing. The only one that is, like, absolutely story integral, I think, is the one where he takes her, like, kind of like on her birthday, trek through the woods to certain places. The other ones are more gameplay segments and ways to squeeze in a little bit more Joel. The only thing narratively in that segment that you're talking about that's really crucial is that there's something that they find that gets Ellie's wheels turning about starting to doubt Joel's story for the end of the first
Mhm.
one. I forget exactly what it is, but they find 2 bodies or something, and there's something that clues her in, like, what did you say that they did in Salt Lake? Like, so that's they can tie that in some other way.
Oh,
I kinda think with that and the fact that it's Pedro Pascal, maybe we're gonna get a lot more.
Maybe.
I just have a feeling he's gonna be peppered in throughout the season, but maybe I'm
Mhm.
wrong.
That was the funny thing that my wife said. So we watched the episode, and I didn't know if she was gonna hate it or love it or what, but we get to the point with the golf handle, like, and she just looks at me and she goes, "Why the fuck did they bring him out to South by Southwest then?" I just started laughing. I was like, "That's a good point."
yeah. Yeah, I he's if he's in the next episode, which he's got to be in at least one more. That's half the season if it's 7 episodes.
Mhm.
Uh,
I think it's more than that.
I
Just with
I
kind of
know.
what they've
I like
shown in that one trailer, a lot of those scenes we didn't see in that first or second episode, so I'm assuming they didn't just take it all from one flashback episode? but maybe they did.
Yeah, Firefly graffiti on a wall, maybe. Yeah, there's a lot of demands. Like I saw Rat King a couple of times. There's a lot of shit. Like I don't know, 7 episodes a clip. I don't know how you're getting all of this in there with the little extra morsels on top. Someone's going to be disappointed if for gluttony's sake, which that's not the worst thing in the world, but uh, fuck, I don't know. Do you think? Do you think like the next episode has to be like we had the calm before the storm. Episode 2 is ginormous. I would assume episode 3, it's gonna be like the eulogy, the fucking maybe they have a long funeral or whatever in town for Joel. Like it's gonna be something of a slowed down episode, right? Like just
I think it would have to be, but I don't hate the idea that Cody was kind of thrown out there. The maybe that's when you have the other flashbacks too, like the Joey Pants stuff. So
yeah, they could
I don't know,
both
but
be in the same
I
episode.
think you got
Maybe?
to address it, and you got to see how Tommy reacts to this. Like, I don't know. I just don't think you could wait another week to kind of show that.
So I've done a little research, and all I could find, and I'm not going to click on the sources or anything just because we're live, but Collider is listed. Is that the third season is beginning filming this summer in Vancouver. So I
Nice.
don't know if that's early enough for them to get it out this time next year, or if we're looking at 2027.
It's hard to say. I know what a workshop was doing the special effects on it. I know it takes them forever to do
Mhm.
those, so I'm not sure if they can do the turnaround that quick.
Could
It might
be
be a 2-year thing.
could be a autumn of 26 thing.
That would be
Maybe,
awesome.
maybe.
I would love not waiting 2 years
Yeah,
between these
18
Amazing.
things.
months maybe.
We definitely got the long wait between season 1 and 2 because of the strikes.
Mhm.
So it makes
Mhm.
me have a little bit of faith that without the strikes, it won't be as long of a wait, but there's also more to do with that second half too. So I don't know. I just don't want to wait.
Well, to that point, I feel like 3 is gonna be so heavy in, remembering and things like that, and then it's gonna have something at the end of the episode where I'm not gonna want like, in my head, I know for the story to move forward, it's gonna be 2 weeks 'cause
Mhm.
you would assume that episode 3 is gonna be, just remembering and, filling some more parts in, and the way television does give you this thing at the end that you're like, "Oh, son of a bitch. Now I gotta wait
Mhm.
wait another week for this," which, yeah, I'm just fired up. It's rare for me to experience a television series where I'm excited for it and it's kind of like paying off, and I don't really have if I have complaints, they're not major. Like, I'm shocked.
Yeah.
I'm happy that, they didn't give out a bunch of screeners for this. I
Fuck
wasn't
you,
sure if it's
Cody.
because they were really well, I wasn't sure if it's because they weren't going to, do this and it was gonna be some big twists, they didn't want anyone talking about it, or if it was just to hide this twist again from, like, everybody, but
But
I'm kinda digging it. Usually it's kind of a bad sign when they're kinda hiding the, screeners,
could it
but
possibly
I love
be
it this time.
because the first episode was toned down? Like, maybe people get the screener for only episode 1 and they're like, "This is kinda low effort, kinda lame."
I don't know. They were really fucking weird about the way that they did it. Like, usually, if they're trying to keep it under wrap, they just don't give screeners to anybody. But they were like oddly selective. They gave it to a lot
Yeah.
of the major trades like Collider and Variety and IGN. And then they gave them to some random podcasts.
Hmm.
No YouTubers, no TikTokers, almost exclusively across the board, aside from the podcasters that have like a YouTube channel with, 300 subscribers that they put random shit on. Like the day that it was released, I was Googling or I was on YouTube and TikTok like throughout the afternoon trying to see who got the whole season and like nobody. And then
Yeah.
the people I talked to that did get a screener, people that I have contact with, they only got the first episode where the trades and podcasts got the full season.
That's
And
wild.
so it was just
That's what I
very
heard too.
yeah, it was
I
very
just
weird. And that was the thing that led me to believe he was probably going to bite it in episode 2. Like they gave them just enough to not know when,
Mm.
but
Mhm.
still is just odd. Like I never really liked the argument of they didn't give screeners because they're trying to withhold spoilers. And I'm like, to me, it's usually like a almost a borderline legal document that you have to sign. to
Yeah.
get access to these things. Like the high profile shit, like Last of Us season 1, like I had to like geotag myself every single time I watched an episode. And I was like, God, if I like post a picture of this, the fucking FBI gonna like shoot through my window. Like, so they were pretty hardcore in season 1, but they usually give you a written document with guidelines, and they will specifically say if they don't want you to mention certain things.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Cobra Kai, don't mention this, don't mention this fight, don't mention this death. And so if you get somebody that leaks that, to me, it's very easy. It's okay, you either prosecute or you say they're blacklisted. They never get anything from us ever again.
Yikes.
So
That
I
makes
don't know.
sense.
Yeah.
You were much better on your guess as that. So they're kind of hiding it for episode 2. I thought they were just changing the complete way that it was going to go down. I thought it was going to be end of season for sure.
Yeah.
I thought that's why they weren't sending them out.
I don't know how they would have done that with all the other stuff I saw in the teaser. That was what kind of made me feel they weren't going to do that. I was like, we're going to see all the reasons why she's on revenge before we see why she's on revenge. Like, I don't, I was toying with that, but I was like, man, that would be a bitch to do, to do that just to
with
keep
them
Pedro
changing
around.
it to like the 5 years between. I thought maybe they were going to cover some of that ground and at least explain like kind of Jackson a little bit with them making it a little bit bigger and a little bit more fleshed out. But yeah, I love the way that they actually went with it. So it seemed to work out for me, but that would definitely suck not getting the screeners. Why they're being stingy on?
I know.
Someone
Bitches.
someone brought up earlier about the Ellie and Dina moment from the pot area that they cut.
7-Eleven?
Yeah, the 7-Eleven. They cut that for woke reasons, but I can't help but think there's at least 2 more opportunities to have sensual situations that are certainly a bit more aggressive than that one.
Here's my issue with that. Then why didn't they cut the kiss at the dance for woke reasons? Because it's not like they fuck in the 7-Eleven. They make out in their underwear.
Yeah.
You just keep them
they
in their
cut
clothes.
the sandwich line, but they kept everything else.
Yeah. I feel like if you have reasons, if those are the types of reasons that you're upset with this show, like you're just going to be upset with it. Like, like you're already in the tank. Like, I don't know.
And that's the shame to see when the interaction too is sometimes you can just read. They're like, this person wants to hate this show, and they're going to find every little reason. Not saying that person did, but you do find that sometimes where it's just you let them talk long enough, and it's like, I think you walked into this looking for things to hate, and if you didn't find one, you're going to spin it why it's bad.
Especially,
and it's very contradictory too, because like you'll have, like with the Abby thing, that was one of the biggest points of controversy in the game. It's like, why is this chick built? Women don't get that big. This is ridiculous. This is woke. And then the show comes out. It's like, why is this little bitch so skinny? She's supposed to be
she's not big
muscular.
enough.
And
She's supposed to be threatening.
Yeah, and it's like you can never win. You can never win. Whatever you do, it's wrong and it's woke.
I was watching a video from a guy who was really pissed off at the original Abby from the game, but now he's calling this Abby not Abby. And it's like, well, but you hated that, so but he kind of has a point. It wouldn't be horrible if they did have like a super jacked actress in there. I kind of like the turning your body into a weapon thing, so I'm kind of missing it. But that being said, the performance from Deaver is just like amazing. So I'm digging this version of Abby.
Yeah. Any last thoughts for episode 2 and maybe looking ahead to episode 3 and what we have in front of us?
Just looking forward to it. I don't know. I guess I'm the wrong guy. I could nitpick a few things in it, but
You bitch.
mainly it would be like, why are you using flamethrowers as like your first line? Like you at least got to have more stopping power than just that. But aside from that, I don't know, man. It was an awesome episode. I think it's way up there as far as any adaptation. I think this is one of my favorite episodes, if not the top. It would take some thoughts to come up with a better one, but I'm digging it so far.
I can tell you what my only nitpick is that for having such a massive, like supposedly devastating attack on Jackson, they never really once showed a character being killed by the infected.
That's what I said earlier. I was like,
Random roof people.
Yeah, like one dude gets knocked off, but like I wanted, maybe I'm just sick, but like I wanted to see the bloater like take the head of somebody like he does Joel,
Yeah.
or like see a clicker bite into somebody. Like that was the one thing that was missing where I'm like, this is badass, and I really don't have any issue with it, but The one thing that would make it a little better is like 1-2 shots of somebody getting fucked up.
Agreed.
We probably
Charles pointed that out.
could
yeah.
get the aftermath of that because they were so harsh with showing us Joel. Maybe, in episode 3, they show us just how many, like, just a fucking pile of bodies that are all jacked up. Like, maybe they wanted to scale it back a little bit because we were getting such a gnarly death.
I thought that's probably the reason why they didn't want to have devastation on top of devastation. And it showed like I caught it this time watching it the second time whenever we're seeing the aftermath while after Joel's killed and we start to hear that acoustic song playing, they show the aftermath and there's a lot of people being shot because they're bit. Like you just see them walking around and popping bodies that are laying on the ground. So that was kind of their way of showing that a lot of people got fucked up. But I don't know. The gore whore in me was like, somebody needs to get their head ripped off. Why haven't I seen it?
Yeah. I think it would have taken away from the impact of that moment. But yeah, I guess that was some other criticism that I saw. Like we see that the town is getting overrun and then the next time we see it, it's under control. So I guess they wanted to see a little bit more of that. But I think it's a trade-off. You want the impact of that Joel moment instead. Yeah. So for me, it works. But I can understand that concern.
All right, guys, before I wrap it up, I'll ask you a two-part question. I'll start with you, Gray.
Bitch.
Rank out of 5 stars this episode and postscript. Is this the best episode of Last of Us thus far, considering both a full 11 episodes so far?
So far, I think it is. To me, it's had the most impact. I'm trying to think of if there's really anything that I'd change in it, and I don't think I would. Just the experience of kind of seeing it with my wife, who had no idea what was happening with it. It seemed to work really well for fresh eyes, and then kind of giving her a reason to understand Abby, to me, really worked. So I don't know. I don't think I could go full 5 out of 5, but it's definitely like 4.75. Somewhere around there. I don't know if we can do quarters or if we're stuck to half.
It's your scoring, man. You run amok.
It's going to be 1 notch down from 5 for me.
Okay.
So yeah, like 4.75. I really dig it. I think this is my favorite episode so far, and surprisingly, I think the Bill episode from last season would be the next one. It feels like they're telling these really powerful stories that I didn't expect to like connect with.
Okay, so 202 number 1 and 103 number 2 for you.
I think so for me so far.
Cody?
I'd probably say the same thing as Gray as far as the score. I don't think I would give it a 5 out of 5. I'm very stingy with those, but as close to you can get to that. So 4.5, 4.75, whatever. To me, it was one of the best episodes of TV I've ever seen. It's not like an Ozymandias level, but it's in the conversation. Is it my favorite? Honestly, I'd need to rewatch season 1 to be able to say that for sure. Like I loved a lot about season 1. Of course, the Bill episode was great. I think my favorite last year or in season 1 might have been the flashback Ellie episode, the Left Behind one where her friend gets bit.
Oh, yeah.
Just because that was such an emotional part
7,
of the game.
5?
Something like that, 7, 6. Because I remember playing the game. We didn't get that DLC until like months later. And so like, of course there was speculation, but I remember having that moment confirmed that she was actually like in love with her friend, and it just added so much more tragedy to it and so much more depth to the Ellie character, and seeing that play out. So I don't know. It might be my number 1. If not, it's my number 2.
Yeah, I probably need to see it again. I without seeing this episode again, I really feel like the 3rd episode hit so much harder because it was like its own little movie for me. Yeah. I don't know if I could say the same thing for episode 2 of season 2, where there's still like unfinished business. I would say. So without refreshing my memory on either, I would probably again say 4.5, maybe 4.75 stars. But I would. It's close enough to be a tie without refreshing my memory. So, I'll default to episode 3 of season 1 being my favorite, but it's extremely close. Gray, do you have anything coming up?
No, show eventually. New show next month. It got delayed, but soon. Other than that, Thinkers every Thursday on That Darn Kiddas channel. people from like 4 different countries getting together, disagreeing about everything. You can see your favorite person, Charles, there. So come on over, YouTube at That Darn Kidda.
Their
every
favorite
Thursday
person
evening.
is Cody.
Well, your second favorite person, Charles.
Speaking of second favorite person, Cody, what you got coming up?
I have a video that I have to do tomorrow. I'm kind of undecided on what it might be. It might be a review of The Ugly Stepsister, because I just watched that a couple of days ago. That's most likely what it's going to be. So look out for that tomorrow. And then I think Until Dawn is the new release this week. So that'll be Friday's video. And then I have a Patreon pick that I'll either squeeze in this week or next week. That is the top 10 most emotional deaths in horror is what won.
Ooh,
So that'll be an interesting one.
that'd be
That's
a huge
interesting.
list. I'm
Yes.
excited to see that list.
Yeah.
Freddy's Dignity, number 1. Freddy's dead.
Well, I don't know how, I didn't plan on doing this. I was kind of hoping, someone brought it up earlier, like, why aren't you doing this on Cody's? Well, Cody's here now, but I
He's
just,
doing his own thing.
right. You're a busy guy. And if you're doing it, I'm there, but I just like talking about it right now. This may fade. This isn't exactly a planned thing, but I haven't had a series be like excitement to this level and it kind of matching. So as long as I'm like rah about the season, I'm going to want to talk about it. So if I stop doing these things, you'll know that it's fallen off in my mind a little bit. But until next time, if and when that ever happens, thank you, Gray, for joining me. And obviously, thank you, Cody, for dropping in and making this episode twice as long.